But do you think you are the greatest running back to ever lace him up in Nebraska?
Here he comes, Abdullah. Wow. And Abdullah still on his feet. Westerkamp throws a block. Ameer Abdullah all the way home. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Lavante's my favorite linebacker I've ever played with.
My jockstrap still ain't at the 50-yard line. You can find that for sure.
It was the first time where I had really understood my impact at Nebraska. When the ball was in the air, I was just saying, like, why the fuck is the ball coming to me?
Remember when he shit himself?
He shit himself twice.
What made you come to Nebraska?
That was probably the craziest thing. My mom was crying in the stands. They grew as men because of Bo. He was like a second father almost.
You're creative outside of ball. I want to dive into that.
Brand/production company called Creative House. To the question of like, do you choose what makes money or do you choose what makes you happy? I got some funny stories about Will.
What are you talking about?
Vegas?
Jack, we good to go. Welcome to another episode of Bussin' With The Boys. I'm your host, Will Compton. If you're listening on the audio right now, please leave a nice 5-star review for the boys. And if you are watching on YouTube at this moment, take a minute because we what do we have? We have like hundreds of thousands of people that come and watch our shows. And we need to get those thumbs up. We need to get those likes. So if you're in the live chat right now, making friends, doing the thing, yelling the boys, dropping the wolf, doing all that fun stuff, go leave a real comment for the boys and hit that little thumbs up, hit that little like button because it helps us in the algorithms. It helps us in all that fun stuff. Climb the ladder, climb the charts. Before we get into everything, obviously we got to shout out the boys from Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced and dependable, hardest working truck on the planet. A strong football season calls for the strongest Silverado ever. The available multi-flex tailgate with 6 convenient configurations will give you a step up on your tailgating game. It's getting cold out there. You need everything you can get in this multi-flex tailgate. There's a primary tailgate which opens up with a push of a button on the key fob from the inside of the truck. The inner gate folds down into a large step for easily getting in and out of the bed. There's an easy access configuration where the inner gate folds down, allowing you to reach farther in the bed. So if you're storing stuff back in the tailgate, it's deep in there, which we all go through on moving day, all that stuff. You have an easy access configuration where the inner gate folds down, allowing you to reach farther in the bed. It can also become a desk or a surface for your tailgating meal. So if the boys are cooking right next to you, you got the grill, you move it out of the tailgate, you reach in because you got that inner gate that folds down. You can pack the barbecue grill deep, you pull it out, you set up shop, you cook some burgers, you cook some steaks, and you can eat your meal right there on the tailgate as well. The Chevy Silverado is modern and advanced with a ton of grit and a partner in getting things done. Go to a local dealership near you. Let them know that the boys sent you. Christmas is right around the corner. There's a lot of truck deals going on right now, and I know Chevy has the best truck deals out there. Go to a Chevy dealership near you. If you're in Nashville, the boys, we like to go to Freeland Auto. Freeland Chevy, Freeland Auto. Go to the boys. Again, Comp and Taylor, they sent you. They'll give you something for free. I can't tell you what, but it will be something. So yeah, boys, great weekend of ball. Great weekend of college football, great weekend of NFL football. We have the bowl selection stuff we can dive into. That's the thing, Alex. We can talk about bowl games that were picked. Some bowl games are set up because, again, Nebraska's out of it. We call a spade a spade. I do think everyone now knows, looking back throughout the entirety of the year, that it's like, damn, Will, he's so emotionally involved and attached. He's biased, of course, when it comes to Nebraska. It's tough to watch him think that a 3-9 team is one of the better teams in college football. However, I do think people are like, but you got to admit the boys not crazy for saying they're the greatest 3-win team of all time. The data's out there. The stats are out there. This is the single-handedly greatest 3-win football team you guys will ever witness. And unfortunately, they won't be talked about, but I do think we have put a flag in the ground. And from here on out, this year will be known as the greatest 3-win team of all time, courtesy of Bussin' With The Boys, because all of the shouting and everything was right here. You know what I mean? No matter how Nebraska does for the entirety of our lifetimes, people will think back and be like, remember when Comp was right about that 3-win football team? Tough to watch him think that 3-win football team was a good football team, but the man wasn't crazy. I don't even know what I was saying. I wanted to get that off my chest. But knowing that Nebraska is out of it, we're still at war. It just moves from Nebraska to now we're in the Big Ten. It is war between the Big Ten and the SEC, just like it is every year. They think we're inferior. We think they're inferior. And we got a lot of laughing going on back here. And Jackie boy, I'm going to tell you right now, Tennessee might take a few strays in this conversation that we have. Nothing. Hey, hang on. I haven't said nothing yet.
I've never seen you get pressed over Twitter mentions, because I think this is coming from Twitter, right? Because I saw some Tennessee fans.
I'll tell you where it's coming. It's coming from my workout this morning. I was working at a booth. Coop was getting me riled up. My trainer Coop and my boy Spencer Pulley, who played at Vanderbilt, a very lowly respected football program. Those dudes are firing me up. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to get to it in a minute. I just want to get out in front of that because I do have love for Tennessee Vols fans out there. But what I was saying about it being war with the Big Ten, our team, if you're a part of any Big Ten football team, any Big Ten city that you live in, any team that you shout on the mountaintops for your team in the Big Ten, whether you're a Wisconsin fan, Iowa fan, we put our swords down now because we all need to be rooting for each other in bowl season and this BCS title game, because we got the boys in Michigan, the boys in blue, they're in the tournament. We need them to win. If you're a Nebraska fan thinking I'm crazy, we need Michigan to be the national champions because we only lost to those motherfuckers by 3. And we need that. We need that to help our cause to continue to be the greatest 3-win team of all time. But my problem, and you guys saw me tweet it right when I woke up and I looked at Twitter, and I'm going to be honest. I was baffled when I saw Alabama jumped Michigan in the rankings to become the number 1 team in the college football playoff. Do you guys think I'm crazy for like being baffled? Like, is that not surprising that Alabama's ranked number 1? Here goes Garrett. By the way, guys, he's a Bama fan, so it could get physical, to be honest.
Do I even need to speak then if it's going to get physical?
No, I want to hear what you think.
Yeah,
We can start scrapping, man.
What did Jelly say? I got lightning in these hands. You don't want to find out. I don't think it's like crazy. I mean, we did beat the number 1 team in the country who was supposed to dog walk us, and that shit didn't happen.
Both fair points.
That's all I got to say.
Okay, I can respect that. There's people out there, you guys from this morning, that are like, it's a no-brainer because they beat the number 1 team in the country. Now, you can argue Georgia was giving up 7 points a game, right? But I think what was eye-opening about this whole situation is the SEC East is just a fraudulent-ass division. You're playing, well, bring up the SEC East real quick, because I know, number 1, I know Mizzou's in there. Vanderbilt's in there. Beloved, listen, Tennessee fan. Tennessee is in there. Who else is in there?
Florida,
okay. Mullen fired. Florida was fraud from the get-go.
Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina.
That's right. Georgia's best win after that blowout loss is now Kentucky, a 9-3 Kentucky team. You can argue, yes, it's a decent football team, but the way Alabama just mopped them just shows you like, okay, Georgia was playing all these frauds all year long. That's why they're holding these teams to 7 points.
I've got ties on both sides. So
the reason
I just don't understand what the SEC East has to do with all this stuff. Are you just talking about Georgia just being the only
number
credible
1
team?
Well, yeah, obviously all the people who on Twitter that were talking like it's just nonsense that I was thinking that Michigan should be number 1. Michigan was number 2. It just got done waxing Ohio State, one of the best offenses in the country. Hang on. I'll let you talk.
Okay,
let you talk.
You're right.
One of the best offenses in the country. And then they take care of business against Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. Should Iowa even been in the Big Ten Championship? That is arguable. They're not that tough of a football team. They're not that good. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play these teams on the other side, like Michigan, Ohio State, all these teams. They play them like once every 4 years. That is arguable. But if you're going to keep the integrity of these rankings, right? If Alabama does what they do against Georgia, which they whooped their ass, they did what they needed to do. They only go to 1 if the number 2 team who just got done waxing Ohio State, if they don't beat Iowa like they should have beat Iowa, like they did beat Iowa, then they do go up to number 1. But what do you want Michigan to do? They just won 40-something to 3. They should be the number 1 football team in America. And then you throw Georgia back to 4. You have the same games. I'm arguing fairy tales out there. At the end of the day, the best team's going to come out.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you could also go back a couple weeks and that just comes down to ranking. Like, should have Georgia been number 1 this whole time?
Right. And if you're going to put Bama number 1, why aren't you just
Georgia let up an average.
Go ahead and put them at number 2. Go ahead and put Bama at number 2 if they're going to ultimately be your number 1. Because it's just that SEC bias.
And then they're not going to put Georgia and Alabama in the semi again.
Right. I agree.
It does also get.
But you can easily go Michigan 1, Georgia 4, and then Bama and Cincy.
But
it's just that SEC. It's that bullshit SEC bias, and it chapped my ass, bro.
That loss for Michigan is the only. I mean, obviously, if they took care of them, then they'd be number 1 right now
for sure. But are we comparing losses?
I know that's what I'm saying.
Alabama lost to an 8-4 Texas A&M team who was average at best in the Big 12.
Iron Bowl. So I just think at the end of the day, obviously, it's the viewership, everything. There's so much politics to go into it. So I'm excited for the games to come up, though.
Dude, I am.
Fun.
I'm fired up. It's going to be you think Cincy can beat Alabama?
No. I think it's good that they're in there, because I mean, like we're saying about the Georgia thing, like they were number 1. We're finding out that they're not the number 1 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good to see different teams in there. Again, like you're asking the wrong person.
I know you're a Bama guy. I don't think they got. I don't think they have a shot either.
Say anything,
right?
But I think it's good to see it. I mean, it's and now it's Bama's to lose,
right?
I think it's from underdog to now flopped.
Dude, I'm a huge Nick Saban stan. Was rooting for Bama hard, right, to even win that game. But the minute I saw them being number 1, I'm like, I want this team to fail. And it's more so because the SEC bias that goes on. I
know you saw the post game, and you feed that yummy rat poison, baby.
Dude, I love that yummy rat poison. He was firing me up talking crazy like that, dude.
That smirk.
And I love that Cincinnati's in, because I don't think they're a team that belongs in the college football playoff. So this is going to be a good example of, don't put these little, are they D1? Are they a D1 football team? Are they D1 2A?
No.
Oh, they're D1. Hey, it's just acting crazy.
D1 is D1.
Yeah, it's just acting stupid. Because once they get mopped, it's like, okay, let's not do this experiment again. Because they beat what? Tulsa by 7 and Navy by 7. One of them, it was single digit wins against those two average football teams.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
8, Navy by 7.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's Tulsa. What's up, Garrett?
By 14.
Yeah, they're not there. Yeah, I hope they get absolutely waxed by Alabama.
Indiana by 14. What conference is Indiana?
Big Ten. They're trash though. My problem is this.
I was asking.
Right. I'm still talking on my points. I'm not saying what you're. I'm still like from the stance of like every SEC person, like you're South Carolina fan. You're a South Carolina fan.
Of course.
You just ride, just like Indiana will ride the coattails of some of the Big Ten schools. You're in the same boat. You ride coattails of Alabama and Georgia.
I'm doing exactly what you're doing. Hey, everybody, drop your swords. We're all behind Michigan now.
That is a great point. I got nothing to say to that because you are fucking right, dude. You're just riding the coattails. I'm literally doing what you're doing. All right, I think that's all I had. That's what I had bottled up. Yeah, you stung me. I think that's all I had. I just wanted to argue SEC versus Big Ten.
I also think
all I wanted to do.
I think this year is a good example of why it should expand too.
Yeah,
because even a 2-loss Ohio State team is a lethal team.
Oh, one, yeah, for sure. It sucks that they lost.
Baylor's good.
Yeah,
like there's a chance for it to be a fun expansion.
And I know everybody says that every year, but just take the 5 winners of the Power 5 conferences and then do 3 at-large teams for an 8-man tournament.
How long do you think you could go? Like obviously football is different than basketball, so you couldn't do like a 64 team bracket because it's just too many games. It'll take way too long. But how long do you think you could extend a season realistically for like college athletes playing?
I don't know. I would think adding another week, like
Because it all equals ad money and all that stuff.
The teams that are in the playoff are taking 3 weeks off right now. Like, you can easily add in another week, do an 8-man, but I don't know as far as like, because it is big, bro. Like, there's so many college football teams out there. I would personally love to see 4-man tourneys in the conference play, like 2 from each side, and then the winner of that goes to the finals, and then that winner goes to like a college football playoff.
You
or
almost
something.
do it like baseball does, so they have a regional, and then they go to the World Series type environment.
Right. Yeah, just do best. Just football all week long, dude. Run these kids into the ground. We interrupt this episode to shout out the boys at Rowback. Rowback Activewear. You all know Rowback, best fit, best feel. It's football season, the best season, which means it's also hoodie season. Luckily for you guys, Rowback just restocked their performance hoodies. And we are not shitting you when we say that these are the absolute softest and highest of qualities of hoodies in the game. The material is out of this world soft, and the stretch is unmatched. Nobody does hoodies like the boys at Rowback. They also just dropped new performance polos, and again, the designs are fresh, perfect for the golf course and night out with the girl. They scream versatility. We've worn these polos numerous times, and the collars look brand spanking new each and every time. You throw them in the wash, you dry them, you take them out, and they stay stiff, dude. And the fabric is unbelievably soft. So if you play football or you're a football fan, you wear Rowback. Simple as that. Also, if you watch Bussin With The Boys, you wear Rowback. Use code BUSSIN, that's BUSSIN, on rowback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off your first order on all polos, Q-zips, hoodies, and tees with code BUSSIN. Hop on the Rowback train now because it is taking off. So go check everything out again at rowback.com. Do it for the boys. But also with the bowl games too, like what are the Big Ten SEC bowls? I want to say, who's Purdue playing? Is it Purdue playing Tennessee?
Yeah.
That's a sneaky solid game. Really? We'll have to go to that, boys. It's right here in our backyard. I want to say Penn State is playing Arkansas in the Outback Bowl. That'll be solid. I don't know how good Arkansas is. I'm not sold on the boys of Penn State, but I'm hoping Penn State's winning. Dude, Penn State went like 8 OTs deep with Illinois. That's tough to, swing a sword for them. I came from Michigan. I hate that Ohio State can't play a SEC team. I would have loved to see that. I think Utah, that'll be a good game. God, dude, I hope not. We really need to go undefeated. The Big Ten needs to go undefeated. I know, man. Because all this stuff I'm yelling and spouting off about, like, I'll be getting drug. Football games. Let's get into the NFL. Good day of NFL games. There are a lot of last drive winners. Detroit finally won a football game. The boys in Detroit. That was an awesome outcome. Did anybody happen to catch that game?
No.
Got the highlights.
Dude.
I don't know if anybody's watching.
Goff making that last drive and throwing that touchdown pass. It's like, hey, I'm fired up for him, but what are we doing on defense, boys? What are we doing on defense in Minnesota? Who else do we have? Dude, I love seeing the Eagles-Jets game, not because of the game itself, because Jets, but because of Gardner Minshew after the game. Dude, how awesome was that?
Phenomenal.
Just watching dudes just be dudes, not know how to communicate other than just chest bumping and dapping up for 5 minutes straight. You go with the dap with the arm over and the hug, and then you get a few distance, and then for some reason it just repeats. Like, you don't know what to say, so let's just do it again. The best part about that whole video is the fans in the background. So Gardner for the troops.
Sign this for the troops.
Sign this for the troops. He's like mid dab. Gardner, kids are over here. Dude, that's the best. We need to do a skit on that. Like parents trying to like, hey, we got kids. It's not for me. It's not for me trying to show all my friends, but it's for my kid. But that was a good one. Washington and the Raiders, watching the boys go at it. I wasn't naming it this, but a lot of people were calling it the Compton Bowl. The boy has a couple jerseys out there now. Maybe it was one guy in the same photo twice, but we're gonna say there were a couple of Compton jerseys out in the stands.
He won the
Yeah. I can't tell if it's the distance and it's the same guy or it's two different photos, but I'm posting both of them. Like there's two fans out there, dude. Like it's multiples. That was a good game, though. Washington is getting dangerous. They're on a 4-game win streak. And I know how lit that city is when Washington is winning football. And it is a fun place to play when they're winning. God awful when they're losing.
They moved up to the number 6 spot.
Really? I know they're like in the playoffs right now, right? If the season ended today.
Yeah, they jumped the Niners.
Tough loss by the Niners, boss. I know, brother. That's hard. That's hard losing to the Seahawks like that, too.
Every time they have
George
our
Kittle's
number.
looking good, though.
Oh, he had a game for sure.
How do you had a game for all them fantasy owners out there? And then the Steelers-Raven game, that one was awesome. I love how Harbaugh went for 2 at the end. I know they lost and didn't get it, but what an awesome call, like especially with that rivalry, too, those whole Steeler-Ravens rivalry. Love how he just put his nuts on the table. They didn't get it, but, you know. I don't know, dude. What do you think? I mean, both. Like, if you're the
a
tight,
little bit of both.
if you're the tight end, you're like, I should have had that because you can make one-handed catches.
Yeah.
And then
You
if you're
just
Lamar,
in that pocket and it collapsed right then and there, but right there with you, putting his nuts on the table, going for 2.
loved it, bro.
Yeah.
I was fired up right before Yellowstone came on, which is a phenomenal show. You guys need to get in your life. Garrett, are you caught up on Yellowstone? Oh my God, man. Rip is the scariest human being alive. I haven't watched the new Succession yet. I'm up to date. I'm not up to date currently, but I've watched up until this past week. That's a good show too. I feel like it's drug out a little bit though. Not really, bro. Yellowstone's way more violent.
I mean, violent, but like they're also in Yellowstone. Other people are like flying in helis.
True.
It's that same.
It's like
dad's
cyber
got
wars
the
going
power,
on in Succession.
Kids trying to take it.
Right. I just think Yellowstone is
Oh well, yeah.
just put it in my veins.
We're not city boys.
Yeah. And then Paramount Plus is coming out with 1883, just a Red Dead Redemption spinoff.
Tim McGraw.
Dude, he looks like he's acting his ass off out there.
He's gonna be the dad again.
I
from
know.
Friday Night Lights.
What happened to my lamp?
Can't hold on to the lamp. Can't hold on to the football.
What Jake Paul rematch with Tyron Woodley? Why is how did Tyron Woodley get back in? Did Fury back out?
Yeah, he just backed out. They said there was medical issues. I believe.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, you're in the fighting world. You're a fight analyst.
I don't think he actually has medical issues. I think Jake Paul would rather fight Tyron Woodley
Just for the rematch and build the hype.
because I think he knows he would lose to Tommy Fury, and it wouldn't be a good fight. And with Woodley, there's like a little bit more there.
Lean up so that you can at least be in the camera, and the people who are watching on YouTube don't have to stare at me when they're hearing your voice. That's JP, by the way, guys.
How y'all doing, man? I'm from South Carolina, same place as Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen.
Hey, that's a good theory, though. Scared to lose?
Yeah,
You think Jake's scared to lose? He's gonna go, but I think Tyron can knock him out.
Jake's scared to lose. How would Tommy back out of the fight then?
I think yeah.
Hey, Tommy.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I don't really want this fight. Yeah. And Tyron has the tattoo now.
That's got to be a huge bag for Tommy and an NDA saying you can't tell anybody.
Oh yeah. And I think he's willing to do that.
That's a lot.
Do you not think so, Alex?
That's a lot to ask of somebody when he's like, oh, and now I know you're scared of me? Let's fight. At that point.
That's true. Great points.
But
I love
all
conversation.
Fury, yeah. I mean, all Fury would have gotten from the fight is money. And
That's all any of these guys are fighting for anyway.
but that's what I'm saying. I think Jake Paul would give him the money anyways.
What if it is a medical reason? It's truly, like there's an actual medical reason.
Hey, thoughts and
Tyron
prayers.
just gets his shot, but yeah, somebody was saying that there might be a third
Third what?
fight between Tyron and Jake.
Oh
Set up a
yeah.
trilogy.
Like they're trying to set up a trilogy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the fight game, but I should be. No, I mean, Jake Paul said if Woodley knocked him out, he'd get an extra $500,000. That just kind of seems like a foreshadowing to me.
To get a trilogy.
Yeah, why not? More money. I mean, is he gonna make more money off of Fury or Woodley?
That's true. And Woodley, even if he knocks him out, Woodley will still lean into that because it's not like Woodley's going to
Woodley's in
be
it
in
now.
the actual fight game. Woodley's in it just for the bag. He's just in it for the money and the entertainment at this point.
Really hurting for money that he's
Yeah, all good points. Yeah, all good, all good, all good.
Jake said the first time I outboxed him, this time I'm gonna punish him and leave no doubt.
I mean, I do hope they just go after it because it sucks when everybody has like valid conspiracy theories out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just hope that they're actually fighting for the sake of the sport. Like you can always know where the like money grabs and everything else is, like with Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson and shit like that.
Right.
But yeah, I hope it's that way. I hope they just get after it. I hope Tyron lets him go this time. For the love of God, Tyron, do it for Missouri. Let's get into the Ameer Abdullah episode. So we got to sit down with Ameer back in July. We didn't. Man, I hate that I forgot to ask him about how well endowed he is. But Ameer Abdullah is now with the Panthers. He's now with the Vikings. Back when we did this interview in July, he was with the Vikings. Ameer and I go way back. We went to college together in Nebraska. Nebraska fans are gonna love this. There's a lot of Nebraska talk, a lot of good stories in the middle of games. We talk a little bit about Coach Bo. I know we were talking about when Bo is gonna come on the podcast, so I don't know what'll be in there or not exactly. But Nebraska fans are gonna love this. Listen, you guys don't have a game. There's no more games to watch, so this is a great win for the state of Nebraska right now because Nebraska fans can now watch an Ameer Abdullah interview on Bussin' With The Boys. And Ameer also talks about Creative House Production, his production company called Creative House. You can follow them on Instagram. They're on the social medias. He talks in depth about that, things that he's into, a lot of stuff that he's into off the field. Ameer is a very well-spoken cat. He's one of those dudes that he makes you want to read. He makes you want to learn more, makes you want to be in tune with yourself more just as a person and getting better as a person. He talks very much from a stance of like, he's just in a single player game, like playing against himself all the time. Like he's always trying to better himself. And he's somebody I look back on as a teammate and a good friend to where I'm like, he's somebody who mentors me indirectly. Like I would never tell him to his face. I mean, I would tell him to his face, but it's like one of those friends that like, you don't know that you're rubbing off on me because I watch you from afar and I really respect everything he's about. But you guys will like this interview a lot. And again, if you're on YouTube right now, take a moment, like the boys, subscribe, leave a real comment. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Ameer Abdullah, Carolina Panthers, also former Nebraska great. Rolling, good to go? The fucking boys. Listen, it's going to feel a little formal at first. You know what I mean? Like I got my boy Ameer Abdullah on.
I just got nervous. I don't know why.
I just said, the boys, I looked at you. Yeah, you're on the bus now, bro.
Shit. I've been waiting.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long ass time. You've given me a lot of grief. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's merited. A lot of the boys do give me grief when they haven't been on the bus yet. I'll tell you when it pains me the most. It was last year when we made the boxes. I sent you one though, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like a part of me that felt like damn.
Did everyone who got a box, were they already on the show?
They were on the Bussin' roster. Yeah. It wasn't like, obviously I didn't just make Bussin' boxes for my friends, but that it was starting to sink in like I gotta get the fellas on.
I appreciate it though, because it came in a time at camp where I was feeling really low. I was feeling low. You kind of start losing your juice. You show up to camp, you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. And you need that care package.
Yeah.
Asian hadn't sent me one yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He put me on the back burner. You put me on the front
bro,
line, bro.
So I wanted to do those boxes because I was always the guy that never got the care packages. Like people get them from their agencies. From the mud.
Out the mud with it.
Yeah. And I would sit there, Matt, like, man, they get these care packages.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And they're, you get the care package and you're kind of saying, oh, it's my agency. It's this, it's that. So it's like, yo, let's make a Bussin' care package because people might be hype and be like, oh, my boy, Bussin' With The Boys.
It means a lot, bro. It means a lot. Y'all sending something out this year?
We're late if we are sending them out. I just started thinking about it on the honeymoon. So to give context, obviously this is backlog, but I just got back from the honeymoon last night, landed at like 10:30. Ameer's in town just for this. We figured it out to get him in Nashville. But I'm straight off the honeymoon. This is the first pod outside of the honeymoon. You're obviously one of Nebraska's greatest running backs of all time. Do you believe, obviously we're joking we're not joking, but also you're playing around being, with that confidence. But do you think you are the greatest running back to ever lace him up in Nebraska?
That's a tough question. It's tough just because I feel like every generation of football is different. And I was in a generation of football where we came up in a generation of football where the running back position has really, really changed. It's not really just running back anymore. It's more like a hybrid position.
Yeah.
They split me out wide, played a lot of receiver, caught the ball a lot. The traditional I-back position at Nebraska has a different definition today than what it had back when you had Mike Rozier's, Lawrence Phillips, even Amon Greens, guys who are obviously Hall of Famers in Nebraska's history. So I think it's very subjective. You know what I mean? I try not to get too much into that, but I consider myself top 3, and I'm not 2 or 3.
Okay, I was gonna say a very well put together answer. If we're sitting in the calf back in the day, if we're sitting in the Hawks now. You say we go to the spring game next year, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, yo, you think you're the greatest running back of all time?
And I only say that just because I move with a different intention now in life. I feel like you got to really speak who you want to be. You got to really embody who you think you are. So being passive in life will only bring you mediocre things. I really believe that. Even if you're doing it for good intentions of like, oh, I want to be humble around these people, the universe hears that and it gives you back mediocrity. So like really speaking who you are is important. And that's where I'm setting my intentions moving forward. Like you got to speak what you really want. And I don't want to be mediocre. So I'm going to say I'm the best. And it's not to disrespect anyone. It's not to say like, oh, this guy wasn't better than me. I'm sure Nebraska fans are going to be watching this like, he was good, but he's not the best. In my mind, I'm the best. And I'm going to take that to the grave,
Yeah. I mean, statistically, if we could pull out some of the stats for like the Nebraska all-time stuff, where are you at on some of those? I remember walking down the halls and you're obviously at the top of a few.
All purpose, I'm number 1 all time. Rushing yards, I'm number 2, which I'm pissed because I got hurt senior year Purdue game. And then it's a couple games I look back where we were beating the hell out of teams and they pulled me out like first half. And I'm like, maybe 140 yards behind Mike Rozier, who's actually number 1. And I probably would have easily gotten that if I wasn't pulled in a couple of those games, or specifically that Purdue game where I virtually didn't play. So
true, but you also got to think too. Like I'm sure Rozier, some of those greats who were on those teams, I'm sure they were getting pulled in some of the games.
Yeah, that's
true.
What I mean. That's true. That is
you know
true.
What I mean? Especially in the '90s, they're probably getting yanked at halftime.
And did Rozier go all 4 years? Because I went all 4 years, even though I didn't start.
I'm not sure.
Year.
I'm not. My Nebraska
true.
history isn't that fine tuned. It is fine tuned when it comes to talking like about Levante stats. Like I sit and talk with Rude, and I'm like, it's crazy to think Levante was creeping up on Rude, and Levante was only there 2 years.
2 years.
Boogie was only there 2 years.
I say this all the time, no disrespect, because you my boy.
If there was, you don't
Levante is my favorite linebacker I've ever played with. Yo, that's why I had the disclaimer.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't think it was going to hurt.
Did it kind of Did I twist it? Did I twist
grinded it a little bit.
Ooh, I know. Only just
bro,
because,
he really is.
He's
the best,
savage.
man.
Never spoke. Made every play. It wasn't a time where Levante was in position to make a play that I'm like, oh, damn, he missed that play.
Yeah, you're right. Now that you say that.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure.
But he made a play when you needed a play to be made.
Every time. I'm always thinking about that Ohio State game when we were playing Braxton Miller, and Braxton Miller was on like a freshman year terror. Just killing folks.
My jockstrap still ain't at the 50-yard line. You can find that for sure. Sometimes they'll replay it on Big Ten.
I would say this still. Braxton Miller is one of the craziest athletes I've ever seen. I know like he had to kind of move the receiver, an unnatural position for him in the NFL, so things didn't work out in that aspect. But college quarterbacks, Braxton Miller was crazy, and he was just murdering us. We were losing like 24-3 right before the half. And
it was like the most historic comeback in Nebraska history.
Levante sparked that comeback. I remember he hit him, lifting up because Braxton was trying to go down, stopped him from going down, ripped the ball, and recovered it. And that changed the entire momentum for the game. And I was just like, bro, that was one of the most iconic plays I'd ever seen.
Bro, it's insane. Bro. And there's another one against, we good? Yeah. Okay. There's another one against Iowa I think about that. I think they might have been an empty. The tight end ran a stick route and pushed Levante down. Pushed off. Levante fell backwards. Dude catches the ball. He's going up the sideline. But Levante gets pushed down, right? And he throws up his hands and looks at the ref, and immediately gets up, chases old boy down, strips the ball from him, and takes it from him. and recovers it, and it's our ball.
Was that
you gotta find? You gotta. When we were rolling the YouTube, we gotta find that play too.
Was that your junior year?
This was my junior year. So last game of the season. It was last game of the season.
Yeah.
It's when I. That was actually a pivotal moment for me because it was the first time I actually stood up and spoke in front of the team. It was the night before. It was the day before that game because they were having senior day. And so I was like, that was my first time speaking.
I think I remember that.
I was so nervous. My heart was in my stomach, bro. And afterwards, BK like grabbed me. He's like, that's the most hype shit.
I do remember
that's
that.
the most hype, blah, blah, blah. And from then, I never felt like it made me feel good about actually speaking up. You know what I mean? Because you're so nervous when you're young. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But, dude.
I was fortunate to have seniors like y'all around me. Because it gave me so much more confidence. Because when I came into Nebraska, no one thought I was going to be what I was. Because I was like a 2-star, maybe 3-star recruit out of Alabama.
You were like a last-minute recruit, too,
last
weren't
minute.
you?
Like, we had signed Aaron Green, who was the number...
He's like a 4-star running back.
5-star, number 2 running back in the country coming out of high school. And then Braylon, the year before, he was a late qualifier. So he was supposed to be in the class ahead of me, but he qualified in my class.
That is true.
It didn't. So I
forgot
came
about
in
Aaron
with both
Green.
of those dudes. And I just... surrounded myself with you, Rex, Levante from time to time, guys
Rex
who
was
worked.
there?
You know what I mean? Rex was there. I was just like, bro.
I'm talking about like the running back room.
Yeah, the running back room was thick.
Bro, we had good seniors when I was a junior. I don't remember, like we had good seniors when I was first there, but it was like Bo's first year there. You know what I mean? First year, like the whole culture's trying to get established and figured out. But Levante senior class, I love those dudes. But yeah, bro, I didn't even know, I forget that you were a sophomore when I was a senior the whole time because we all hung out so much. Yeah. Rex was a beast, man. What do you think about, like, when you think of, I mean, look at you. The legacy you left at Nebraska. Like, your senior year, I'll never forget this play right here. Stop this play right here. McNeese. You guys are playing McNeese? No disrespect to him. But we always like...
They almost clapped us.
Yeah. We'll get to the Pelini era in a second too.
Yeah.
But like, there was always a game where we almost fucking lost that we weren't supposed to lose. Like one of my years, it was South Dakota State. Their senior year, you guys had all the hype in the world. Where were you ranked right here? Trey Lance?
We were 19. It was still early in the year, but like midway through this year, we were like 7 in the country.
Yeah, you guys were 8-0 going into
Michigan State.
Yeah, and you guys lost it was like last second too.
Crazy, yeah.
But this play right here, there's 35 seconds left in the game, bro. 3rd and 6. It's 24-24. Nebraska should not have won this fucking game.
No.
But Ameer makes this play that's like on the top 10 for weeks.
Crazy, man.
Hey, when you make a play like that, like what like especially at Nebraska, like what's that?
Dude,
talk about your senior year a little bit, especially moments like this when you have 90-something strong.
Man, I'll go right into this play because first off, it's 3rd and 6. We had thrown a couple, we threw a stop route to, I think, Kenny before that play. And then we tried to go deep to Jordan Westerkamp. So it's 3rd and 6, and we just called 4 verts, which is a horrible call. Which is a horrible call, bro. I'm just like, yo, we can get a good play call in and we got time. I think we had a timeout left, We called 4 verts.
What are we playing?
What is this, NCAA? Madden? Whatever.
Just 4 verts?
They had given up. Coaching staff probably had given up. They're like, fuck, we just lost to Michigan State.
But my son, he keeps running 4 verts. He keeps being successful with it. Let's just throw that.
Yo, so I'm not even supposed to get the ball on this. I'm just running an option route underneath. And these dudes are terrible. Those dudes, they definitely should have made that play. But they definitely should have made that play. But I remember getting the ball. And when the ball was in the air, I was just saying, like, why the fuck is the ball coming to me? I have like a 3 to 5 yard route. I'm not even past the sticks. And it started off very pessimistic for me. I was like, fuck, we're about to have to punt the ball back to these dudes with time left. I turn around and I see 2 guys just running at me out of control. So I tried to cut back in. I spun off one dude who tried to go low on me. And at that point, I was like, man, I could score. Westy threw a block for me late, but it was crazy. Just the energy of the stadium after that play. I felt like a god. I felt like a god. It was the first time where I had really understood like my impact at Nebraska. Because the year before, I'd had like a historic year. I went for like 1,800 yards on the ground. as a junior, and I had a decision to either leave or come back.
That's right.
I had a
remember
decision
that.
to leave, come back. My draft grade when I sent in, they do like the projection draft grade.
Yeah.
It was like 3rd or 4th round, which is pretty high. But I was like,
You made an announcement to come back too.
I made an announcement.
Yeah.
I did the LeBron.
I
I was
feel
dramatic.
that.
I
I want to keep my
LeBron.
talents here.
I'm gonna keep
I'ma
my
stay
talents
home.
here. But coming back, just the love that state showed me coming back, I really felt it that play. Like they were chanting my name in the crowd after that play because I had just scored a walk-off, win for the team against a team we definitely should have been beating, So
What was but at the same time, well, because I know what goes through your head, like, what's Coach Bo about to be like in the locker room after the game?
Well, Bo. Bo was never even excited. We came to the sideline. Bo's face is still stone cold, just like, all right. You know what I mean? Thank you. But we almost lost.
He's thinking about all the shit that almost lost
He's
the
already
game.
thinking about how I'm going to rip this team's ass when I get in the locker room. So I come in after, doing a couple post-game interviews, and I'm kind of hype. I'm like, yeah, we did that. And I come in, I have to settle myself down because I see everyone else is like quiet because Bo is just like ripping their ass. Bo like double takes, sees me, comes in, he's like, you guys better fucking thank God for Ameer Abdullah. And I was just dying. I was just like, yo, Bo, crazy, man.
Dog, we've talked about it before. So we have a group chat that's went on every day since college.
Yep.
Literally every fucking day.
That's rare.
Like, how many of us are there? There's like 8 or 9 of us.
Quincy, Toby, Kenny, Josh, Tariq, Nate, Gary, you, me. So 8.
8. And
Nate was a late addition because he's a lot younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a later addition.
Were you?
I think so.
You weren't a staple?
I wasn't a staple like that. I got in fairly quick.
Okay.
I got into the club quick.
Yeah.
Because you guys felt like you needed an addition of
You
a
were
couple.
VIP.
You needed an addition of a couple white guys.
Yeah, we needed to sprinkle a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
It was like, who's the next white guy we can get? And Nate was added
Nate
next.
was the next guy, you know.
White snake. But so we've had this group chat running forever. We obviously follow Nebraska like fairly closely. Like we're always keeping up with the boys. Obviously, when Bo got fired, we have our group chat. Like you're like following them throughout this whole thing. Mike Riley comes through. Now Scott Frost. But we've always been like vocal about our time in Nebraska and stuff. And I know one thing we talk about, and we're actually gonna have Bo on. Bo's coming to get on the bus next week, actually.
Nice.
But like, as phenomenal of a coach. Because when I was telling Charles, my new wife, when I was telling Charles that Bo's coming on, I was stoked for her to finally meet him because I'm like, yo, this man legitimately shaped a lot of who I am right now. Like a lot of what he taught, like a lot of his stuff, a lot of his quotes, a lot of all of it, the culture and everything, I get from Bo because, you're able to imprint on kids when they first get to college. And, but his downfall was always, in my opinion, which we will get to talk about, was his composure in like the big moments and the big games. I remember when it was really like standing out to me. Never when I played because you know how it was playing for Bo.
Yeah.
You always felt like, fuck, I'm letting the squad down. I'm letting like, damn, it's like pissing off your dad. You never want to let your dad down. And I remember y'all were up. You guys were 8-0. You're playing, or 8-1 maybe, playing Wisconsin.
I was going to say the same game.
And y'all were up. What was it?
17-3.
17-3. And who was the running back?
Melvin Gordon.
Are we all right with the rain going on? And Melvin Gordon jumps over maybe Corey Cooper.
It was Corey
Cooper.
We're still up.
And takes it to the house. And it's 17-10, about to be halftime.
Yeah.
And Bo is just losing it on the sideline. And I'm thinking in my head now, like playing in the league a couple years, seeing what my growth was like from coaching when not being afraid to mess up and just playing freely. Like Bo's just ripping these dudes. And I'm like, yo, why is he losing it on these boys? Yeah. And they're about to be up 17-10 on a good Wisconsin team, and they need this going into the second half. But it just made me think of all the times where we lost to some of them big games. And obviously it's not because of Bo, but you think about some of those moments and you're like, damn, like if we would have kept our composure, like we could have probably been fine or better off in those moments.
Bro, you kill the head, the body will follow.
Yeah.
Every time. And Bo would lose his head a lot of times. And like you said, as much as the fans didn't understand this, Bo was a leader. He was a
very
leader
much
from
so.
his tenacity, his passion. We fed off of Bo. When Bo got hyped when the defense would shut somebody out, 3 and out, that first drive, we used to always kick off first.
Yeah.
Because he counted on his defense. When you guys got that first 3 and out and how hype he was, the offense would see that and we would set the tone for the entire game. Now, on the flip side, if you guys came out and they threw a bomb the first play and completed, the whole energy of the team was down because Bo was already losing his shit because our leader, the head of our group, is already falling. Right. You know, and I feel like that's something where maybe his pro experience didn't always translate because, you know, Bo was a pro guy. You know, he coached the pros. And as a pro, you're expected as an independent contractor, as a professional, to keep your head no matter what, you know, as a player. But as college kids who are very malleable, like you said, who are young, coming from these high school atmospheres, and you see your head coach pissed off and in your view losing his faith in you, oh, man, you start playing lackluster. You start making mistakes that you would never make before just because you're like, holy shit, the fan just hit the fan. You know, things are on fire right now.
I remember, like, it's like a play was like the first play of the game would be like a run, and maybe the offense gets 4 yards. Yeah. And he's already too fucking much. You know what I mean? Like, we're having fun now. I'm telling you, the main character highest. And this isn't like this isn't a segment where I'm sitting here and we're just talking about downfalls of Bo Pelini or saying like this is why we weren't this and that. Like, you just, with the maturity we've had now, and you're able to think back on like how we've been coached over the years and different things. I mean, look at my man. Hey, and Carl's no better. Bro. Carl next to that
Carl's
man.
Worse.
Yeah.
Carl's bro. Carl's actually worse.
Yeah. But Bo, like, you fucking loved him and he held such a high standard. But in some of those moments, like, it took me going to Rex for like some of my mental actually started to take off a little better and go in the other, not the other direction.
Strength coach Rex.
No, Rex Burkhead.
Rex Burkhead, okay.
And obviously you guys are on offense. So it's you guys, I felt like didn't have to deal as much of Bo because you guys weren't on the defensive side. But I remember like Rex would always carry himself in such a way with confidence where he would be able to move on to the next player. Nothing really ever seemed to affect Rex that much. And I remember asking him like, hey, do you have any like stuff you listen to or books or anything like that that helps you out, like your mental? And he's like, bro, read The Mental Edge by Kenneth Baum. And that book, The Mental Edge, we'll put some link or something somewhere to go to Amazon or something like that. But The Mental Edge is literally what opened me up to the sports psychology side of everything and reading books and like using your mental as an advantage because we subconsciously, and it just naturally happens, like you think what you think you become. Like you were kind of talking about earlier, the universe and everything like that, which we'll get into. But I'm reading this book and I'm like, yo, I've been using my head as like a disadvantage all the time because I'm out there, I'll be on the open field or like starting to approach a tackle or pursue or something like that. And I'm thinking, don't miss this tackle because of how you might look on film to where how the might coaches talk about you in the meeting room to where then when it carries over and they coach you up in the film room and you're thinking, oh, this is what the coaches think about me. This is how I'm defined in the coach's meeting room. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then like I realize like the way my brain is going, I'm using it at such a disadvantage because of the way I'm talking to myself. Yeah. But old Rex, like he helped me out. That book is honestly what opened my brain up to like a lot of these things outside of like learning through the process that Bo always taught. Yeah. The result.
That's interesting. You're talking about, you're talking to Rex about the mental side of things and how it can be a weapon or it can be your disadvantage. Because I definitely think the very thing that empowers you in life can also devour you in life. I think a lot of times it's good to know a lot, but trying to seek too much knowledge can also make you very timid. Because once you know a lot of shit, you're like, well, I can't do that because I learned this. And that tells me not to do that. Well, I can't move this way because I can also bring me this in life. And, you start overthinking everything when you know too much. Some things you got to kind of just leave up to chance. And I think that's a delicate balance, kind of cycling back to Bo, that sometimes he didn't let happen. He didn't allow the ebbs and flows of the game to be what they are before he made his decision like, this is bad. You know what I mean? Things were bad just because he understood the X's and O's so much, understood his scheme so well that if one person is out of alignment, which is going to happen, every game is different, he was just on fire, immediately.
And it's crazy because the people who play with him, who's the tight ends coach?
Coach Cotton.
No, not Coach Cotton. I'm thinking of somebody else. He had his son. He came from Bama. He was like the recruiter.
Oh, Mike Morrow. Coach Morrow.
Coach Morrow. Because he played with him at Ohio State, right? Yeah, or played with him in high school or grew up with him or something like that. And it's just crazy because people are like, yo, that's Bo. Like he's been that way even as a player because he was always out there on the field. Like because he was a captain at Ohio State, I believe.
I would love to meet Bo's dad.
Yeah.
Like who?
The whole family's crazy, bro.
They're crazy. Who's the?
They said the brother would be at the game and then he'd be in the stands fucking swinging on fans and stuff, bro.
Youngstown, they need a 30 for 30 on Youngstown, Ohio, because Jim Trussell came from there. I want to say
The Stoops brothers.
Bo Pelini.
The Pelinis.
It's like a mobster like mentality, but they like football mobsters.
Bro,
it's weird.
They do have a 30 for 30 on it. It's called the Youngstown Boys.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, they need
Hey,
something.
they just wild shit. Like, so Bo's brother, the one who was the fan that would go to the games, he wasn't Carl or Bo coaching. He was, I forget what the brother's name is, but his son,
Mark? Was his brother
yeah,
Wasn't
it might be Mark Pelini.
Okay, yeah.
But
No.
either Mark was
because Mark was a junior of his dad. Yeah, so it was Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his son Mark played for us, right? And Mark, what was he, a backup center?
He was a center.
Remember when he
started
shit?
a couple games.
Remember
bro.
when he shit himself during practice or workouts?
He shit himself twice
He shit himself and has continued to practice and play.
at center.
Yeah,
That's
at center.
disrespectful. That's disrespectful.
And
bro.
that man lived with fear, talking about, nah, like I'm not gonna do that. My uncle.
And y'all got those white pants too.
White
Yeah,
pants,
bro.
man.
Oh, wait, there's got to be. I think there's a photo somewhere.
Oh
I'll try
my
to find it so we can.
God.
But bro, Mark was funny, but he's like, oh, that's that's my family.
Oh yeah, he's just conditioned that way.
But like, we say all this stuff too, and you can't like mistake it for the downfall or
It was no
anything.
in my opinion, there's no downfall.
Right, because since then. There has been no 9-4, 10-4. Like, yeah,
No.
we've lost some big moments and some big games.
Yeah.
And people forget too, like, okay, he couldn't keep his head in the big moments. Like my senior year, we had 7 comebacks in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
That year was fucking memorable.
I always say that was one of the rosters. We tricked it off against Northwestern that year. We tricked it off. I don't know how that happened. We
tricked it off against a team every year. Like the year after we lost to Texas in the Big 12 championship, we tricked it off by losing to them at home for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We tricked it off against Northwestern.
Yeah. After we had just beaten a star-studded Michigan State team led by Kirk Cousins, my quarterback now. They had like Le'Veon Bell, Edwin Baker, BJ Cunningham, all those receivers, defense. What's the big tall DN, Golson?
Yeah, Golson.
They were loaded.
They did have
were
a
loaded.
squad.
And we smacked them at home. And then lose to Northwestern the next week.
Yeah, we just always... It fucking sucked, bro. I tell you what, losing the Big Ten championship the first year we went to the Big Ten or second year, and we go to the championship game and we lost, what was it, 70
to 39, 70
something to like 39. And hey, I'm telling you, Bloss, I'm saying like you couldn't throw us a life jacket, bro. We're out there just drowning. And there was like, and they just kept running the fucking speed sweep, dude. I can't wait to ask Bo about that game.
I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that shit. I'm gonna let you dive in that water, bro.
Well, at the end of the day, we got to make plays. I know there's one tackle I missed. Like, we're out in space. Obviously, like, there's arguments always on every side. Like, as a player, as a man, like, we are very much accountable. Like, that's the name of the game at the end of the day. Like, if you're not self-accountable and you're blaming other shit on why things happen, like, you're going to fail at some point in life anyway. So I sit there and watch, I'm like, man, I wish I would have fucking played better and made certain plays and tackles. But if you put on from the coaching perspective, like, we didn't make an adjustment when we using fucking 22 speed personnel.
Pride was another thing with Bo, man. You know, like he didn't really want to change a lot of things, like schematically. You know, he was, I'm gonna live and die by this. And like, once people start to get a beat on you, you know, you got to adjust every now and then.
Right. Because there would be limited calls, but there's, in Bo, in the defensive world, there's a lot of adjustments to formations. It's honestly... Again, there's both sides of the coin because learning under Bo and his staff is the reason I've been able to play in the league so long, because I had guys like Bo, Coach John Papuchis, Coach Els, Coach Eckler, even Coach Carl, for the love of God. But Coach Marvin Sanders, that's a fucking another little tale. That could be a little TV series on Netflix. Yeah. And but learning the defensive philosophy under the Pelini regime is the reason I've been able to play in the league so long, because they teach you so much about the game. They teach you they say, like, you know, you need to learn to be an offensive coordinator out there, but once you learn the defense and you're able to learn what the offense is going to do to you, based on formations, based on down and distance, based on everything else, like you are like another little coach out there playing against these guys because you understand what's coming. Because based on formations, you check something and you know they only run a couple plays out of those formations. And just learning under that, and Barrett Ruud, he would always come back to Nebraska. Shout out Barrett Ruud, but he would always help me on studying film and how to take notes. And learning all of that is the reason I'm like, all the credit in the world goes to that, because that's why I've been able to play so long. And we talk about the other side, like we've talked about the.
I was gonna say it's interesting. Inverse, I had a completely opposite experience. With Coach Beck. Tim Beck was our offensive coordinator.
Right, you're in a different world on offense.
Bro, getting to the league, man, I consider myself a pretty intelligent guy, so I didn't struggle, with the playbook, but it was like the learning curve was completely different. Like
really?
The verbiage, the play calls, understanding that I had to know what everyone else was doing. I never had to do that in Nebraska. Our play calls were like 2 words. It'd be like red Mongo, go. That's a play. In the league, you don't have that. You're setting a formation. You got maybe a shift to a motion, and then you got to understand if a safety moves down in the box this way, the protection may change. I didn't have to learn all that stuff. So I feel like, honestly, going into year 7 is crazy, but I'm just now really scratching the surface of what I can be potentially in the league from like a third down back, a receiving back standpoint, because I understand the game a lot more. I was just out there playing with talent for a while.
Shout out Whistle Pig. No free shout outs, and also all free shout outs, because Whistle Pig Whiskey Rye is the best whiskey on the planet, and whiskey distillers at Whistle Pig Whiskey have cut loose. This piggyback barrel aged rye smash is so refreshing, naturally carbonated, basically a mix between a whiskey cocktail and a seltzer. I don't think there's anything out there that's like this. It's so refreshing, bold, balanced. Whistle Pigs take on a more flavorful seltzer, and at 8% alcohol, sign the boys up. It's made with 100% estate-grown rye from Whistle Pig Whiskey Farm. Who knew you could innovate rye in so many different ways? The fruit in it is barrel-aged in whiskey barrels, giving those whiskey notes. Now, I'm a big whiskey guy, but this is going to be my go-to for tailgates. My favorite one is the ginger. Get the ginger and rye, out on a boat for a bonfire. Honestly, it's perfect for any kickback type of outing. The flavors, you have blackberry lemon fizz, session citrus mint, and that fresh ginger lime, which is my personal favorite. It's available right here in our Tennessee backyard, so stop by a local retailer and find more info at piggybackRyeSmash.com. And when you buy this Rye Smash, boys, and you buy it at these local spots, these local retailers, take a photo and tag the boys, and we'll be sure to shout you guys out. Yeah. So, and that's a good topic to cover too, because a lot of college is, very spread oriented, very based on maybe 2-word calls, like, because coaches are trying to basically outcoach the other coach, basically tempo everybody. Chip Kelly tried doing it, bringing it into the league.
Didn't work.
Do you feel like understanding all that stuff now and looking at, like, if you were to give a message to running backs that are getting recruited, to look at pro style colleges, pro style programs? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like you wish you would have been in more of a pro style system?
I definitely do. That and like sitting in with the quarterbacks more to understand like safety rotation and like just coverages, because everything happens from the top down. Right? At least from the way the quarterbacks, or you read a defense, right? The safeties usually tell you, even though they disguise a little bit, you have some good safeties. Like Harrison Smith is crazy on our team. Oh. He'll be down at the line of scrimmage on the snap. He'll be running way back.
Some Troy Polamalu shit.
Oh, it'd be crazy.
Yeah,
so he's different,
player.
you know what I'm saying? But for the young guys who are, playing against these collegiate teams, I would definitely say sit in with the quarterback a lot more, understand blitz patterns, fronts, what different alignments for DNs can mean. If a DN is kind of spiked inside, most likely someone's blitzing outside because everything's gap. Most defense are gap assigned. Things like that. I didn't understand, where you can see things before they happen, and then that's when your natural talent can really show. Because now you're getting the ball, and you knew that the DN was going to spike, and you knew it was going to be an unaccounted for blitzer on the outside. So you can be like, all right, I'm going to make this move on this guy, as opposed to getting the ball and you're like, oh shit. Now I got to make the move, without me knowing before that was going to happen.
Knowing how the block's going to come off of your tackle and getting uphill, getting vertical shit like that.
Man.
You feel like you didn't have a lot of that stuff in Nebraska?
No, not at all. Not at all. You know,
So you knew what to do, and then it's just
I just was
ability.
playing ball.
It's
man.
just fear mirror.
Just playing.
That's what it was, bro. Did they make sure it's fear mirror?
They actually, so senior year, homecoming against Illinois, they spelled my name on the field with the band. Fear mirror. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you can find the footage. It was against Illinois. That was probably the craziest thing. My mom was crying in the stands because like she was like, "Yo, this is my son that they're making this for."
Yeah.
I don't even look at him as fear mirror, but like they love him here, and it was crazy because my mom, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and leaving home, that's like 16 hours away. My mom was skeptical. She really didn't want me going to Nebraska. She didn't want me going far, but to see the impact and how that really changed my life I guess it was one of those moments in motherhood where it's like, dang, I got to trust my child more because he had the intuition that this was going to be the place for him. And 4 years later, they're spelling his name on the field. So it was
Damn,
like,
that's fucking
that's
cool,
dope, man. Super dope.
What made you come to Nebraska?
Really, Coach Bo. Coach Bo. He was the only coach who really came to my high school for me. Everyone else will like, they'll call, you know, they'll send some mail. But Coach Bo came and pulled me out of art class. I'm never going to forget. So, like, my second half of my first semester, my senior year, I had pretty much gotten all my credits to graduate already. So I'm in, like, bullshit classes all the time. I'm in art. And I get a call on my cell phone, and my art teacher was super cool. She let me pick up the phone, and it was Bo Pelini. He was like, "Hey, yeah, man, get a pass from class, come down to the counselor's office." And I had just seen you guys, I think, a couple weeks before. Taylor Martinez had a crazy game against Kansas State where he scored like 6 touchdowns or something like that. So Nebraska was on my radar. So I was like, "Yo, this is a good team."
Magic at
and then
QB.
that year, that's when y'all lost to Texas in the Big 12 championship that year. So, like, you guys were a game away from the national championship. So I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity for me. Like, Alabama and Auburn, they were lightly recruiting me. They really wanted me to play corner. I wanted to play running back. So Coach Bo coming in and just telling me, like, "Hey, man, I'm not going to tell you you're going to be a starter, but I think you got a special talent, and that's the reason why I came here. We don't come to Alabama, often, but when we do, we don't miss." I remember he said that. We don't miss. And I was like, all right, you're not going to miss with this one. And
that's fucking awesome.
The rest is, what it is.
Oh, that is
Bo's the man, bro.
Bo, he really is the fucking man. He'll yank your. Hey, I tell you what, you miss an art class in college though.
For real though, yeah.
Hey, that was one thing that always kind of stuck with me because he'd be in like team meetings and talk about like, I'm not gonna fucking hold your hand and babysit you guys.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are grown men. We need to teach you guys, but you guys need to learn to become grown men because you're not gonna be a some of the time guy.
Right.
It's either all the time or your ass isn't playing on Saturday.
Right.
He's like, you're not gonna pick and choose when to show up. It's not just come play Saturday, come play when we practice. You're either going to be the same person in classroom or you're not going to be here.
I think that's what I appreciated about him the most is the growth that I saw in all of my friends. So ironically, Josh Mitchell and Kenny Bell are both in that group chat. Some of my closest friends today. But when they came to Nebraska, when they first got there, they were shitheads.
Yeah.
They were immature, a little entitled, a little bit. And didn't want to go to class or any of that stuff. Bo, like you said, he didn't hold their hands. Like, they grew as men because of Bo. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that maybe the fans who just see him on Saturday, they don't understand. He held people accountable. He really was. He was like a second father almost. And he wasn't going to baby you. He was going to help you grow, which growth is never comfortable.
Yeah.
So
focus on the process, compete every day. That was his biggest quote that he had hanging around everywhere. And as cliche as it is, it's just like,
it's just true.
Unfortunately, it's the fucking truth,
fucking
man.
True, bro.
You talk about, I want to go back to you speaking about, actually, I don't want to go to that pivot yet. I want to go to the development you've had throughout the years. Getting to this point, you've spoken on, like, now you're at a place where you feel like you understand third down, you understand schematics, you understand all this stuff in the football world. Talk about your development from when you first came into the league to where you're at now, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically, football, whatever it is, because you're somebody I've always like respected and admired from afar. Like, obviously, that we're boys, we're good friends. Some would say,
acquaintance.
But for real, like, you're my boy, and you're also somebody like I always try to like tell, because you never like tell your friends that they're like mentors of yours, right? It's always got to be seen as somebody who's either where you want to be, older, above you in some kind of way. But you've always been somebody that's like indirectly mentored me from afar because I keep my eye on you and what you do because you always seem to be in a good place. Yeah. Talk about that development.
Shoot, it's funny you say I always seem like I'm in a good place because I'm not always, you know what I mean? Which everyone deals with stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll start with Detroit, man. When I first got to Detroit, I had a really good rookie year. And I put a lot of expectations on myself, but that city is tough with the expectations. So like getting hurt my second year for the entire season.
You were drafted in the second round, right?
Second round.
Okay.
Second round. So first round, rookie year was solid. Second year, I got hurt pretty early, which Detroit is kind of a woe is me, town sometimes where like when they're up, they're up. When they're down, which they've been down for a little while now. So for me, that was a low point for me, in my career, where it was a lot of doubt started to creep in for me. Like, is he going to be able to be the same player after his injury again? Can he stay healthy? Can he be an every down back? And those were a lot of the things that I fought when I first got to Nebraska. So, as people, doubt is like always stronger than confidence for some reason. For some reason, we're so much quicker to like believe the negative as opposed to the positive. And I'll say between like 2016 through 2017, I had kind of become that person. I kind of lost my way of seeing the opportunity as opposed to the obstacle, But I'll say the development started to happen when I started to realize who you are sometimes is who you are all the time. And I'll plug Bo again. It's about the process. I started to, reach out to you about a lot of things with taking care of my physical body on a day-to-day basis. And when I started to take care of my physical, that started to help my mental. It really did, because I was feeding myself in, so to speak, a self-loving manner, doing things that made my body feel good, made me mentally feel good about going to work. I was more confident. I felt better about myself. And I think everything in life happens for a reason. So when I transitioned from Detroit to Minnesota, I think that was kind of that last like burden that was off my shoulders of like attaching to an identity of being the best all the time. I still consider myself right now one of the best athletes pound for pound in the NFL. An opportunity as it comes will show that. But for me, it was all about just getting back to the basics of doing things. Like every day, waking up at a certain time. Like I always, no matter what night I had before, I try to wake up at 5:15 every morning. Just because you get to wake up with the sun, you get to mature with the day, and you get more out of the day. I try to make up my bed every single day because both said it, bro. It's the little things, the process. And it's not about like achieving the big things one time. It's about achieving those little things over time and time again until you look back and you're like, holy crap, I built a monumental legacy for myself just because I was keen and I was focused on the little things. So I think a lot of my development spiritually, physically, and mentally all come from just like enjoying the little subtle things in life. Like going out in nature. What I'm saying? Just going out in nature, or just moving my body first thing in the morning after I, make up my bed, brush my teeth and everything, moving my body, being thankful that I can actually move my body. Because I got a lot of friends who had pretty severe injuries. They can't even move the same anymore, and just giving back to those simple essences of life have really like allowed me to stay in the league as long as I can. And I think I'm at, an ascension point, really. I'm going into the last year of my deal with Minnesota, and just seeing how my role has changed with them, where I'm sharing the field with probably, other than Derrick Henry, the best back in the league. Dalvin Cook. So that's also, to me, it's interesting. I'm back in the same place that I was when I first got to Nebraska, in my opinion. When I got there, Rex Burkhead was there. One of the best backs in the college football. When I first got there, I knew I would have to sit. I knew I had to be patient, and I had to find my way. I had to find my way on special teams. I was a return guy.
Which you are a beast on special teams.
When I got to college, I was a freshman All-American just because of returning the ball. Mm-hmm. And then in the NFL, I was a starter all 4 years in Detroit. Get to Minnesota, I'm not the starter anymore. I'm back to that point of like re-humbling yourself. But I don't really look at it as like humbling yourself. It's like just focusing back on the little things, because timing is everything, but timing is always happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like your
just
moment
flowing.
is always happening. It's just being ready and being aligned with that. And to do that, you have to be on the little things, because it'll go past you and you won't even realize it went past you if you're bullshitting. If you're trying to cut corners, if you're making excuses, if you're kind of that woe is me, like, man, they should be doing this more for me, or this should be happening for me. Just expectations. It's like, don't expect, just do. And when you're doing, and when that opportunity comes, it's going to be so seamless that it's like, oh, I did that. I created something for my life, and it was effortless. I didn't have to pull the moon to earth. I just had to continue to fall back on my training. You know what I mean? Like you remember when what was that group that came in and they like threw us in the pool? The program. So we did this thing in Nebraska one summer where these they're called the program. They come in, they're like military guys, Navy SEALs actually, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much just talking about teamwork and bonding. And one thing that they always preached was never rise to the occasion, just fall back on your training, right? And I can remember it was times in Detroit that the pressure felt like I had to rise to the occasion, as opposed to just falling back on what I knew. And now I'm in a place, I've matured over the years where it's like my heart rate doesn't ever jump anymore because I'm like, man, I do this shit every day. My work away from the facility is way harder than the work that you do in the facility, in my opinion. So it's like I'm in a really good place with that now.
Hey, that fired me up.
Yeah,
that was
I see it in your eyes.
That was a good little TED talk right there. He said, "Are you gonna cry?" You might have motivated the boys back there.
You know what I'm saying?
Where's Garrett? He needs to hear this shit.
It says that y'all were trained by the Navy SEAls. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's called the program.
The program.
If you type it in, is that it? Yeah, this is from it. Oh, bro, I'm telling you, man. They've developed.
Yeah, they're going hard now. They had one session where we had to wear all of our sweats and tread water in that pool. You remember that shit?
Yeah. And whether you could swim or not, bro, you couldn't hang on to the side. So,
it was actually irresponsible. It was very irresponsible because Braylon Hurd couldn't swim.
Right.
Braylon couldn't swim.
And if you could swim, you had to it's on you. Help your teammate.
Help your teammate. So it's like they did it on purpose. So if you couldn't swim, now you got to rely on that person on the team who was the stronger swimmer to maybe hold you up. I just remember Cameron Meredith just like chilling. He's an Orange County kid, Huntington Beach kid, just chilling. Floating in the middle of the pool, everyone else is like drowning and shit.
Yeah, bro, that shit was fucking hard. And this is at like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
we had to do a whole evening on the field, like in the turf field, like doing logs and shit, like over, like doing a lot of team stuff because it gives the coaches feedback, like who leaders are, who people that are going to separate from the pack, people who are good, just teammates. Because the whole ordeal is that it doesn't matter if you're a leader, somebody who has a title or not. Like we're all leaders in our own regards, whether you're a teammate who's just helping one other teammate. But they taught the perfect push-up that we had to do every day, all the fucking time. But bro, so you had to do this whole evening, right? We probably left around maybe 10 p.m. at night.
10 p.m. woke up at like 2
and then we
a.m.
had to be at the swimming facility at 3 a.m. in the morning. And you'd have to wear all these sweats or in the pool, like you're doing laps, but then you're in the deep end and you're treading water, right? And you're helping your teammates stay up. But at one point, you got to change your sweats and give it to your partner.
While you're in the water, treading water.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, that shit was fucking nuts. Brutal. What were we going on with that? Fall back.
Oh yeah, fall back in your training, man. So like
just the quote of falling back on your training.
Yeah, I think that
you basically become your habits. You're literally talking about all these little things. The book you guys put me on in the group chat, Atomic Habits. Shout out Jay Mitch. I want to say him or Quincy or somebody might have posted that one.
It was either one of those two.
But like reading that book too is like that's a quote from there. Like you ultimately become what your habits are. Yeah. All these little things that we fucking talk about. Whatever quote you want.
If I can. Just going back to doubt. Doubt is like the thief of joy. It really is, because when you start to doubt yourself more, you start to believe those doubts, you get afraid to even do the little things. I got to that point where like I was so doubtful after my foot injury.
That's what I want to get in. That's what I wanted to ask when you're doing that whole thing. Like, was it a certain moment and time frame, obviously with your injury, to where it made you see like, yo, I'm weak-minded right now. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, weak-minded. Like I started to, after my foot injury, so I tore my Lewis Frank. So that's like
brutal.
It's brutal.
I did too.
Bro, it's like the ACL of your foot. It's terrible. It's a terrible injury to come back from. I still got screwed in my foot from it now. But I started to just tell myself, like, you won't be the same. You won't be the same. You won't be able to cut on your left foot as much as you used to, And from that, you stop working the way that you did when you didn't have that injury, because you're starting to incept yourself. You start to accept the idea that you aren't the same. So subconsciously, your body starts to, pretty much agree with that. So physically, you don't even want to move. You don't want to work out.
Right. You just crutch it. Like you're just like, it is what it is. Like it's not going to get better.
It's not going to get any better. So I saw myself starting to go down that path. which is where I feel like my third year in the league, it was a solid year, but we were going through a coaching, transition. So anytime you're going through a transition, you got to make a good impression. My third year was very average. It's a very average year. I think I rushed for like 700 yards or something like that. But, which isn't bad, but I saw myself as a 1,000-yard back for sure. But I can really remember just like the offseason before that year, I was scared to really push myself because I was still coming off of that injury. And it was really the doubt. It was what I had told myself. I was fine. Now I feel way more elusive than I ever have in my whole career after a surgery. You know what I'm saying? And that's just because my self-speech and doing the little things every day has gotten me back to that point. And just for anyone who's really watching, man, like, don't allow the doubt to steal your joy, because it'll start to seep in your life. And who you are sometimes is who you are all the time. And you may think this is just one area of my life that I'm struggling in. It'll start to bleed over. It'll start to bleed
there's
over.
No question.
I saw it in my relationship lives where I wasn't doing the little things. I wasn't communicating well. Went through a lot of tough breakups because of that. I saw it in my family life where I wasn't staying in communication with them as much. So
you're quickly triggered.
Yeah,
because your mental's not straight.
I would just kind of run from situations. Anything that was a little painful, I would run from. It's the same thing with my foot. Anytime I was trying to cut and it hurt a little bit, I'm like, all right, I don't want to do that anymore. So that's when I started to realize, like, yo, who you are sometimes is who you are all the time. And you kind of got to run towards that fear. You got to run towards that, that doubt in a sense, because on the other side of that, a lot of time is joy, and it's a lot of like prosperity.
Right. Even comparing too. Like looking, the thing in like ball, like in sports too, is like never look at another man's wall. Like when somebody gets signed and you're like, oh, you're getting out of the framework of what you're seeing in front of you. But even comparing, that steals. Yeah, that's another doubtful thing that steals your joy. Is
that's
like,
when you're better than them.
Yeah, that was tough, man.
Yeah, but nah.
No doubt.
It is what it is.
No doubt. All right, guys. Hey, most guys have tried to find different ways to last longer. But thinking about football doesn't always work. The folks over at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman swipes, the secret to longer lasting sex. Roman swipes are clinically proven to make you last longer in bed. They're effective, easy to use, and fast acting, but don't require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in a discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They're super easy to use. Just take the swipes out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. Can you confirm that for sure, Jack? Yeah. Good. Sure. Good deal. Go to getroman.com/bussin and you can get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's getroman.com/bussin. You talked about you feel a lot more elusive. Is there some like body work or training that you've adapted over the years that's allowed you to become this?
Yeah, I got to pay homage to Foot Doctor Sports. So Foot Doctor Sports is a sports training enterprise based out of Miami, but they have foot doctors dispatched all around the country now.
Is there one in Nashville?
I don't know if it's a foot doctor in Nashville. It might be one. So the owner's name is Seth Minter, and pretty much what they do is they connect you to you by doing a lot more barefoot training. You see a lot of people doing barefoot training. Mm-hmm. I would advocate that the foot doctors are different than everyone else. I don't want to give their whole little spiel, exactly what they do on camera. I'll let them tell it better than what I can. But working with those guys and working with my personal trainer now, Foot Doctor Mo, had really allowed me to understand that the body is all a spiral. Everything is it's like a pulley levy system. Everything. It's more about absorbing force as opposed to delivering force. If you look at a rubber band, or like a trampoline, you jump on a trampoline, the force you give down is going to rebound and give a much greater force. Your body is the same way. Your ankles are trampoline system. Your knees are trampoline system. Your hips are too. And really changing that understanding of the body changed my training moving forward. Because in Nebraska, I was a big lifter. Dude,
you're strong as fuck. Well, all we talked about was it'd be you. Who was next to you?
You, Rex.
It'd be me, you, and Rex. And
someone else?
I know Zoe sometimes, depending if it was
me,
bench
you,
day
and
or
Rex,
not.
Majority of the time,
dude, bending bars.
Dude, I used to squat like 495 for 15. You remember that,
bro?
Like crazy weight, bro. Which you get stronger by forcing your body under tension over time. But what that really does is that reinforces a force absorption subconscious that's not healthy, which is why you see a lot of guys have non-contact knee injuries. Because if you think you have force on your shoulders, force at the ground, that's obviously a given. Gravity is a given. That's physics. Your body is saying, when I have force at the top and force at the bottom, to resist, as opposed to if I'm having force from the top to sink into it and redistribute, it's telling all of your joints to resist when force is applicated to you, right? So a lot of guys, when you see them run and they cut and they tear the ACL, it's because your body has been trained to resist the ground, not use it, not to absorb it. And when I started to learn that, I was like, I can keep myself healthier by doing more functional training, things that help me spring out of my cut as opposed to stump out of my cut. You see some guys, they stump through drills. You see them, it looks good on camera, they're stumping and stuff, but it's like, you do that shit in a game while someone's hitting you and your knee is trying to resist someone hitting you from up here, and then your feet are on the ground, especially with artificial turf nowadays, how grabby that stuff is.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of these injuries, knee injuries. And I think that really changed my whole outlook on how you should train and what's actually necessary for football players, which has really made me a lot more elusive, in my opinion. Now, like, honestly, I consider myself more of a receiver than I even do a running back now. I think I probably can run every route on the route tree, but that couldn't be said back in Nebraska. I was a lot more stiff. I was a lot more.
You're more stiff, but come on now.
I was
elusive. Come on now.
You know what I mean? But
I like over time, like me being older as well, like I've benefited greatly a lot more from like eccentric training, isometrics and things like that, just because of how the joints feel over time. It's crazy too, like thinking back in the college, like all this stuff we had to do, and even high school, even like my dad always had me on stuff, training programs and stuff in high school as well. Yeah, on stuff. Yeah, not on stuff. He had me on that creatine monohydrate, baby.
I got some funny stories about Will.
What are you talking about?
Vegas?
Oh, BBC 157?
Intro the BP.
Yeah, so shit. BBC 157, it is a body protective compound. It's not on a banned substance list or anything like that. I got it from Ben Greenfield. And it helps what's the word I'm looking for? Like regenerate, like injuries, like tendons, ligaments, like stuff with injuries. You put it intramuscularly right into the injury. And it's not a fucking banned substance. But we're in Vegas, and Ameer's always like, it's not. Yeah, you can take the tablets.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell the story.
So we're in Vegas. I forgot why we were even there. Was it the NFLPA? Was it?
Yeah, NFLPA.
Okay, so NFLPA meetings they had in Vegas. Like, what the fuck? Anyways,
I'm always I
guess there's a team there now. But Will, I think he had his door cracked because I told him I was going to come up to his room. I walk in. I see Will bare ass out, needle, just shooting some shit in his ass. And I'm just like, Will, what the fuck is going on? I was like, that's how you're doing it, huh? That's how you're doing it. Because at this time, he hadn't told me this is BPC 157.
I told you to come up and to check out. Like, I'd be like, bro.
Shit looks sketchy. Shit look really
because I was putting
sketchy,
you on.
bro.
I think I was putting you on red light therapy.
Red light therapy.
I had packed all the shit, dude.
With cold showers, all that stuff.
Yeah, because I had like an upper hamstring injury. And Ameer comes in and I'm like, hey, this is it. It does look sketchy as fuck, dude. Like needles sitting there. And I'm like injecting this shit like right into the top part of my hamstring. But yeah, I remember when I was first like learning about it. I was sketched out by it, like seeing it, like putting it together and everything. And I remember the drug test guy
Looks
coming.
like meth. I thought he was doing math.
I remember the drug test guy coming to my house and being like, hey, can you get pot for this? Like, is this on a banned substance list? And like, we're looking at stuff and again, confirm that it's not, because I'm listening to it from like a Rogan podcast from Ben Greenfield, like all this stuff that I've learned. Like I was the way I'm obsessive over Bussin' With The Boys and like all this type of shit now is the way I was like with like performance, recovery, all those methods, sauna, ice, fucking red light, all that shit. And, so I get on this BBC, and so I'm like, well, I guess if I get popped, I'll know exactly what it comes from. Because I sat there, I was like, I injected it right before you came over, so I'll know if it's from that. Because people would always ask, like, hey, what if you got, like, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, I should know what it comes from because I'm always, like, very wary of, like, what I'm putting into my body because I'm not, like, trying to fucking put that bad shit in there. But like I would be like, well, hands up, I know exactly where it comes from and explain it and do this and that. But that's why I feel like I'm able to talk about it. When you first bring it up, I'm sitting here, I'm like, should I be tense about talking about this? But I mean, it is what it is. It's not on a band.
It's not banner.
Yeah, and if it did happen, like we would fucking know. Look at that old boy right there. Just put it into his. You guys aren't allowed. Like YouTube doesn't. I mean, they're doing it right now. It sounds sketchy as fuck the way I'm talking because I'm sitting here sometimes at times.
I'm just glad it wasn't meth. I was like, oh shit, we're doing meth. That's what you wanted me to come up to.
You declined it. You declined it though.
I'm not. I wasn't that low. I did decline.
He's like, oh, I think I'm good. I was like, bro, I promise you, it's all good.
I'm just gonna drink some coconut water. I'm good, bro. I'm good, man.
Hey, Compton, this is where I draw the line. Like, I'm not gonna go this far.
In Vegas too. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about this. We're in Vegas. It's the setting that really did it for me. If we were like in any other like maybe locker room or just someone's house, I was like, okay, I trust Compton. But it looked like meth. It looked like some kind of crystal meth. We're in Vegas. He's like, yeah, let's just do it one time. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, that is funny as fuck, dude.
That was actually an epic night.
That was fun. We had a good time. No, that was we're talking NFLPA.
That was an epic night.
NFLPA?
Yeah. Quincy was there too. You remember?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it after.
For sure.
I kind of don't remember that one.
For sure.
I thought NFLPA was more chill than obviously when the island went.
I think it was chill for you.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
Just show my wedding ring. You're creative outside of ball.
Mm-hmm.
I want to dive into that. You're actually wearing a hat. Is that the hat?
Yeah, this is one of our hats. So I have a brand/production company called Creative House. And pretty much what we do from a social media standpoint is we just encourage other creatives to step into their light. Everyone is a creative. It's all about how you look at something. One thing may look like something from somebody else. You turn it this way, they may see a whole different perspective. We just want people to see life that way, see racial issues that way, see policies that way, the whole 9 yards. Just be more creative with your thought, because it just encourages people to not be as down in the dumps or pessimistic about life because shit's been tough for the last couple of years, pandemic, all these other things going on. We just want to encourage people from a production standpoint. We do a lot of things with Lululemon, a lot of companies up in Minneapolis. So we're based out of Minneapolis and we also do event spacing. So we rent out our physical space in Minneapolis to other entrepreneurs and creatives who are trying to get their businesses off the ground. So we're all about the little people. So that's pretty much.
What got you into that?
Really, my buddy Uzama. So my buddy Uzama, he has a company called Creative Copilot up in Minneapolis. It's like a parent company where he teaches other businesses how to make content. And I was like, you know what? I think this will serve a greater purpose if we kind of like expand this idea and help other people who just need space to facilitate their business, And we came together, we started making apparel at first. And then from there, we're just like, if we get a physical space, we can actually make money, hosting people in our space, hosting our own events, building a community where people can trust us to be people who help them get to where they want to be. So that kind of grew over the last, we've been a company now for a little over a year. And, but the actual creative side of things actually came from me starting to write scripts when I first left college.
Well, you started doing that when you first left college?
When I first left college, yeah.
Damn.
So, yeah,
there's a lot you keep from the group chat, man.
You know what? I like to keep things close to the chest until they're actually at the point of manifestation and physically, tangibly you can see, because I don't like to be that guy that's like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, I'd rather just show you once it's ready, Yeah. But yeah, I first started writing screenplay when I left college. I just took a couple master classes, YouTube University, definitely hit it up just to learn how to write screenplay. I've always loved the essence of telling a story through film, depicting things like that. Was a part of one writing team, which I won't disclose their name because we're no longer working together. We were actually writing a television show that was supposed to air 3 years ago, but the funding fell through, so that wasn't what it was, and that pretty much set me on a path to start to produce my own work. So right now I'm actually writing an animated adult sitcom that I told you about, I think when we were at Jay Mitch's wedding. That we're planning to produce in 2022. And so Creative House is one side of what I do from a creative standpoint. We have our own creative concerts where we produce tiny desk concerts for local artists around the country just to give them more of a platform and more of a exposure. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, Bert just came up out of nowhere.
More exposure just because we feel like the underground music scene is like dying out, because the streaming, anyone can rap now. Anyone can hop on and rap. And we feel like we need to kind of take the reins and bring the actual true art of people who are actually good at making music back. So we only feature artists who are like on the come up, not guys who are already mainstream, who've already made it. We want to give back to the little people because we're always about those people who are kind of those hidden gems.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself a hidden gem. Like I said, I was a 2-star coming out of Alabama. And
Second round draft pick, yeah.
I work for it, but
Hey, did we talk about that?
Put it in your blog. Put it in your blog.
I think we were talking about that at some point, weren't we? You touched on him being drafted. I know I touched on him being drafted, but I'm talking about in the past. We've talked like, yeah. It's like people fuel themselves. Like me, I'll fuel myself as an undrafted cat, but I was a 4-star coming out, so controversially, like arguably a bust. Going into the league, right? Being a 4-star. But some people who are drafted high that were 2 stars or low stars, they'll feed on the chip of the shoulder of being a low star.
I always see myself as like the underdog everywhere I go, all the time. And I don't know if it's like this sociopathic thing I've told myself.
It definitely is. It's all
myself,
our own.
But like, it helps me. Like anytime I walk in the room, I'm like, not that I got to prove something to anyone, but I'm just like, work harder than everybody in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll work the hardest working in the room. You were always about that in Nebraska.
Right, for real, bro.
You really were. That was like your quote. I think it was in your bio. I think that was some shit you put in your bio.
That's kind of a dick move to say.
But but coming out, he said that was a dick move. Yeah, it's always. I think we're all like brainwashed to think we're all the underdogs. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I'm that way being undrafted. Taylor feels that way being drafted at like 13 overall. He's like, there's fucking 12 motherfuckers.
Wait,
that one.
What?
Oh, he argues about it all the time, doesn't he? Like, there's something that all of it, like all the competitor in us just has to bring the light. I mean, obviously you got to find your edges somewhere. That chip on your shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if we're gonna be honest, since Taylor said what he said, I was mad that I went as late as I did, and I went in the second round. Yeah. I was mad. You know what I mean? Because
it's like, to me, you're a second rounder. And you're like, oh man, all fucking 32 teams passed on me. And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. You're a second round draft pick.
You're a team's second pick.
Yeah. What was your signing bonus?
I think it was like 2 point something million. Yeah.
A
couple million.
What was 5,000?
I think so. Yeah, I was say actually
$5,000 signing bonus.
My whole deal was
baby.
4, so it might have been like added like $1 million or something like that.
2,700 after taxes.
I was saying, what was my signing bonus? It was like it might have been like $1 million or something like that. 1.3, 1.1.
That's the vet. He got the vet.
That was the
guarantee
vet,
right there.
That was the vet minimum.
He got the max out vet bonus there.
You gotta look at like the
Sport
the first,
Track. That one right there.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah, click on it. I forget we don't have Alex.
You guys got Wi-Fi in this piece?
We got JP trying to fucking run it back there. Learning. Yeah. Scroll down. Let's see it. Golly, boy, 1.3 milli. That's nice, man. I tell you what, when that first you get your first check, bro. Is that not an incredible feeling?
It was.
I mean, my first check was a practice squad check, but I felt like I was on top of the fucking world, bro.
Hey, man, it's more money than what you had.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's more money than what you had, man. It was. I actually had a really, really crazy draft day. Do you know my draft day story?
No, but I would love for you to share.
Yeah, so draft day, I was back in Birmingham, Alabama with my family, and the second round starts, and the Arizona Cardinals called me, and they're like, stay on the phone with us the whole draft. We're gonna pick you, but we have I think they had like the 18th pick in the second round, and I'm on the phone with Bruce Arians, and me and Bruce Arians have history because, I don't know if he's from Alabama, but he was down in Alabama for some time, and he used to host his camp at Hoover High School. When I was 14, I got a
Hoover,
yeah, good,
2 days,
real good. Marlon Humphreys went there, but I got MVP at that camp, and jokingly he was like, "Man, you're gonna play in the league one day," And then ironically, years later, he's calling me trying to draft me. So he's like, dude, I told you, we're just joking about that. I'm like, man, you can't write this stuff. Literally before I can even so it's a pick right before Arizona. Detroit's on the clock. Didn't even call me. And I just hear my mom saying, Ameer, come inside. Because I went outside because I was kind of stressed out. TJ Yeldon had got picked. And then I was like, all right, man. All the draft boards said I was supposed to go before TJ Yeldon.
Right.
So I was like, oh, man, I don't know what's going to happen. So my mom's like, come inside. And the pick is in, and Detroit had just picked me. Didn't even call me. So I had to tell Bruce Arians on the phone, like, yo, I just got drafted by the Detroit Lions. Sorry, I can't be Arizona, Cardinal. But they ended up getting David Johnson, which was a good pick for him. He was solid for him for a few years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know what I mean?
They traded him for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Incredible move by Arizona. The fuck? The Texans sometimes, some of the moves that they made.
They must have some dirt on them. I don't know.
Right.
You got some dirt on them. I don't know. No shade to David Johnson. I think he's a savage. But
bro.
But D-Hop is a one-in-a-lifetime type of receiver right now, bro. Like, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What was I going to talk about with the draft? It was something with the draft. Boys, if you love watching live sports, but you're tired of the high prices, it's time to take control of your life and your TV experience, and it's time for you to get Sling. Sling is a place where your favorite sports channels like ESPN, FS1, TNT, and more all together for less. And it's the cheapest way to get the best NFL viewing experience on TV, NFL Red Zone. With the Blue Plus Sports Extra package, you get Red Zone, NFL Network, and more for only $21 your first month. Plus, watch past episodes of Bussin' With The Boys, the Yak Stool Streams, and again, Bussin' With The Boys, and all the new Barstool content for free on the Barstool Sports channel on Sling. Sling is easy to set up, easy to use, and there's no contracts. Starting at just $35 a month, sign up now and get your first month for just $10. Whatever you're into, Sling is where you can find the live sports you love all in one place. Go to sling.com/barstool to sign up now and get your first month starting at $10. You had your draft story.
Were you tight when you didn't get drafted?
Yeah, I was tight for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was undrafted.
Yeah,
like I thought I'd be a low round. Like you let the thought get in your head too. Everybody's like, oh, it's better to go undrafted than be a 7th rounder, and so I bought into that for sure. But
yeah,
I do think it is better to go undrafted than go in the 7th round.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to say day one, the Chargers called me, not to obviously, well, clearly, but they called about like, yeah, we're very interested in you. This is on like day one. Talking about probably on day 3, we're gonna look to get you. They drafted Manti Te'o in the 2nd round. But yeah, I mean, I was let down for sure. Salty. And I felt like the undrafted process happened really fast. There were like 3 teams. I want to say it was like Tampa Bay, the Redskins, and Chicago that were, and then a couple others that were wanting me. And then I was like, my agent was kind of talking about, the depth chart and things like that. And I thought it'd be cool to play in Tampa because obviously Levante was there. Mm-hmm. And then he just calls me back like, hey, congratulations, you're a Washington football teammate. And so it kind of just happened fast. I mean, everyone's like happy and celebrating, and I was just kind of like bummed, that I didn't get drafted. But it made for a better story. Like I wouldn't change it
for sure.
Like I fucking love the whole undrafted just journey I've been on, I feel like. But yeah, I was fucking bummed.
So we talked about like some things I'm doing creatively, with Creative House and script writing and where I want to go with that. I do have to ask this question. I know we kind of talked about it earlier. I open this up to everybody. Do you think that there should be, in today's society, there is naturally a separation from what you do and what you love when it comes to like professionally? Like making money a lot of times doesn't always align with what you love, at least from my peers. Do you think naturally a lot of times you have to separate what makes money for you from what you love? Like, did you always see yourself with, with Bussin' With The Boys?
Oh no, come on now. You guys know that. You guys have gotten to I would text in the group chat about doing a podcast sometime. We talked about doing a podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you feel some
he went and did it with Taylor.
Exactly. Hey, there we go. Now we get into the nitty-gritty.
We wouldn't be on a fucking bus. I'll tell you that. we wouldn't be on a bus.
We wanted. Ameer and I dabbled about it at the thought too. I want to say we wanted to call it the Black and White podcast.
Black and white. Keep things black and white, no gray in between, and it's a black guy and a white guy.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
It can still fucking happen now. Like, let's not get it twisted.
Hey, it could, definitely could.
You see the new facility? We're reeling it in. You take, what you want to do with the tiny desk stuff.
Dude, I'm right in Atlanta,
put
bro.
it
I'm
all,
close. That's a 40-minute flight. That's nothing.
Marry it all together.
Hey, yo, we could. We
sure. Really could. But no, I didn't see myself doing this. But I feel weird answering the question just because I've played professional football and made a lot of money.
Right, same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I guess I want to understand more of the context. Like, the question is what? Do you feel like it's natural to separate how you make money and doing what you love?
Yeah,
like, what's the essence of the question?
So I was actually talking to a lady friend of mine, and she right now is selling life insurance.
Okay.
And it's not what she really wants to do, but it makes a lot of money for her. She's really an artist. She's really good at, videography work as well. And she does a lot of painting. That's what she likes to do to express herself. It makes her feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
But that shit don't make a lot of money sometimes, man. The market for someone who sees themselves as an artist, something that's subjectively graded, doesn't make a lot of money. So she was kind of saying a lot of times in America specifically, you have to separate what makes money for you from what really makes you feel good as a person,
Yeah.
And because when you find yourself in a space where you're doing things that you really want and they're not making money for you, it can build like this resentment where you're looking at what you do as kind of just like not worth it.
Right. I think a lot of it depends on what you want out of life. Like, sometimes you got to know what lane you're getting into. And that resentment you ultimately create, like, obviously it sounds like it's easy for me to say because, I play football and now I sit on a bus. But if resentment is getting created, I feel like your mental's not necessarily in the right spot because you're labeling with something, whether or not you hate it, you're labeling as somebody that's in this, I would assume like capitalistic world of how you have to make money.
Right.
And if you're truly not happy, like my wife, for instance, she was an accountant making solid money out in DC, like PwC. Does that sound like a accounting? Okay. One of the bigger accounting brands out there. And she was a tax accountant, and she had a trajectory of like, going and you want to make partner and you want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And she left being a tax accountant to start managing Bar 3 studios, getting into fitness because of the whole mind-body connection, like all that kind of stuff. So she, took a serious pay cut and wanted to kind of go chase her dream of owning a Bar 3 studio, which one day I believe she will. And, she's an example of somebody who like left something that they didn't enjoy doing because they weren't getting what they wanted out of life. I think ultimately you have to ask yourself like what you're wanting out of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we played ball, but we knew going to college and everything we were putting into, like myself, I was a very focused individual, like wanting to play football in high school. I feel like I had a good head on my shoulders. I had good influences. Like, I came from a small, I won't say Podunk town, Bonne Terre, Missouri. Say it without saying it. But you're in a small town where you're not taught to think outside of small town. Not because people didn't want to, but you almost don't know how to because not a lot of people leave where I grew up. There was never you can count on one hand people that went and did something in college on a D1 level from athletics. Nobody really played professionally. There's a punter that played for the Ravens for a long time. I forget it. It might've been like Kyle Richardson maybe, who played for a long time with the Ravens that came out of like a few towns over, but nobody ever went on and did stuff that, I'm getting to currently do. And like my brother going on scholarship to wrestling, like you're never taught to think outside of that element. Right. And so I think ultimately you need to figure out like what you want. And I say that from a fortunate standpoint of like learning young that I wanted to put in such an amount of work to football to hopefully be a professional football player one day. But I knew like learning we talk about the process of everything else. You're not a some of the time guy, you're an all the time guy. So what I did in football, I knew I needed to take the same standards and approach it to what I wanted to do next. Because at the end of the day, no one's coming to save you. Like, no one's going to lay, I've went on about this before. I got to talk about it on Token CEO, Erica Nardini's podcast, that you don't lay that same, no one is sharing your pillow at night, whether or not you have somebody laying next to you. Like, they can be your biggest supporter of all time,
Right.
but they're not carrying the stress that you have going on in your life. So unless you figure out like what it is that's truly eating at you and truly bothering you, you don't necessarily have to set forth some kind of plan of action. Because like you said it, like you get to a place, and fortunately you were playing in the league to where you knew you were all right financially, but mentally didn't meet what people saw you as.
Right.
But you had to wake up one morning or on a consistent amount of mornings and kind of question like, what am I fucking wanting out of this? Because I'm a second round draft pick. I had a decent first year. I've gotten injured. I'm down low in the dumps. Like, how am I going to, get myself out of that? And I think that's ultimately like what people have to do. And you might have to take a shitty way at first.
Right.
But ultimately, like, you have to start with the end in mind. Like, what is the goal you want? What is the process that's going to get me there? And again, it's easy to say and talk about, but it's truly what I've done with anything I feel like I've cultivated in my life.
Yeah.
And you got to review it and feel it and see it every day. Like, you're where you're at mentally because you've built habits of waking up with the sun. Like, I'm ignorant to some of this stuff. I'm starting to learn about the spiritual side of things, but you talk about waking up with the sun, like moving your body. Like, you want your mental to be in a certain place, that where you're feeling good no matter what's happening in your life. You said your heart rate doesn't rise as much anymore. I've seen you post photos of you meditating before a game. When some people like myself are getting amped up, I'm painting my face. I'm fucking talking about pre-workout. Like, you're flowing, you're in some flow state, right? But you don't get there. You had to see what you wanted, right? And the process for you to get there was like, I'm going to change my habits. And how I'm going to review and feel it every day is I'm going to set my alarm at 5:15. It's going to go off because it's going to trigger something psychologically in my brain on this is why I'm doing this. And you're doing it every day. And these habits have formed over time and created and manifested, this being that you've wanted mentally, spiritually. I'm not talking about the football stuff. I'm talking about another form that people might be able to relate to. Like, maybe you're in a job that you don't like, but there's a side hustle that you're doing and some of you guys, I would love for you guys to chime in and speak on it, because you guys, you guys are in like a perception to where it could be relative to somebody else listening. Be like, right. Will's up there. He's been a 8-year vet. He's sitting on a above average podcast. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm trying to think of something that's relative to everybody else, but ultimately it's, you got to figure out what you want, and in all areas, not just financially, because you chase money, you're never going to stop chasing. You chase in a certain area, you're never going to stop chasing. Like it's like you say, you can't pull the moon to you.
Yeah.
You got to, what was the rest of that quote? You can't pull the moon to you. You got to, I don't know. You said something fucking beautifully earlier. But it's got to be like a cultivation throughout all of your areas, right? And you have to figure out a way to review it. I'm a big believer in writing shit down. I write to myself all the time. I write goals like this podcast. It was a small goal now that I think about it, but I can take a photo and put it on here. But there's a writing in my old journal that was back in 2016, I believe, or 2017 in April something, 2016, 17, that said, I want to be I want to be the first. I don't know if I was, I think we were, active NFL player podcast with 1 million downloads / coach. Cause I've always had aspirations of coaching as well.
I felt like you said that to me before.
I might have, cause I've shared like stuff with like, some of my boys that like, we always kind of mentally check in with each other.
I do remember you.
Quincy sent me a text like from years back talking about the podcast. And, but I've written that shit down. Like, I've written down anything that has kind of transpired. Whether or not I've gotten there, it's been like up and down, because there's also like earning a 3-year contract. Like when I became a starter and was able to play a whole season, I didn't attain that. There's going to be stuff you fall short of. But for me personally, it's start with the end in mind, figure out what you want, understand what that process looks like. And it might be a shittier process than a lot of people. Like, everyone's going to have a different wind at their sail. Like, it's just life. Like life, it just fucking is what it is. No one is coming to save you. Whatever your situation is, no one's coming to save that except you figuring out what you want out of it.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how to review and feel it every day. Some people might say, hey, that's too ambition driven. That's too like, you know, you feed your mind like you want too much, or people sometimes are pushed away from the whole personal development kind of side of things because it's very like ambitious, right? And I'm learning now recently. I'm saying a lot of different stuff. I'm jumping around everywhere.
No, man, I'm taking a lot from it. One thing that really hit me when you were talking about it, you're saying no one's going to come and save you. And kind of going back to the question of like, do you choose what makes money or do you choose what makes you happy? I think a lot of reasons why people don't choose what just makes them happy as far as like, their profession to lead in is because they don't want to take the accountability of the self accountability of like if they fail. Because because you're relying on yourself. Like if you're an entrepreneur, I know the term gets thrown around a lot now, but someone who works for yourself, builds your own, your own businesses, everything comes from you. It isn't any structure of your job telling you when you got to go to work, any programs that's saying like, this is how we're going to facilitate our business. You have to come up with everything on your own, and taking the accountability when it's going well and when it's not going well is a lot of pressure. And I think a lot of people would rather just say, you know what? I would rather just fall in line and kind of be a little bit miserable on the day-to-day and make a little money on the way, as opposed to being liberated spiritually by doing what I set out to do, but working 10 times as hard.
I'll tell you what, the whole entrepreneurial like life is not it's not like, it's a term that gets thrown out there, and like 90% of entrepreneurs fail. Yeah, because you got to put everything into practice. Like it is on you. Like bro, you've done your stuff over the years, and you drop stuff in group chats and people share stuff. Like you've done a multitude of things, right? You've sat down with like kids, like you've done some cool, dope shit. Real estate. Yeah. And you can drop it and you hope your boys share it and do things like that. But at the end of the day, bro, like nobody cares, work harder. That sounds fucking crazy as shit.
It's so true.
But it is. It's so true. And if your mental's not right about it, like there is a spiritual side to it. Like there's times where I gotta sit back, like I'm craving too much, I'm desiring too much, and I don't know if it's coming from me or an influence of me looking at other shit out there, and I'm feeding my soul differently than I need to. I'm not focusing and reading what I want to read. I'm scrolling a little bit more. I'm looking at other people's pages. I'm like feeding my soul differently. But I can get to the root of why I'm getting that way, to where I can reel it in and be like, hey, Comp, you're not on this trajectory right now. I might see something from you, seeing you breathing, and I'm like, I need to get back on my breath work. I sit here like I read a breath book and then I did breathing for a month. And now I'm going to tell people I breathe now. And then I stop doing it for a little bit. Be like, I'm on that shit. You know what I mean? Like you have to check yourself, which goes to 1000% self accountability. Yes. And you do, like where you are right now currently is based on literally every decision you've made. You might have had some bad fucking situations happen to you, but even the way you respond to every situation is still a choice. It's still something universal, where the universe is going to continue to lead you down that path or lead you back. Again, we're saying a lot of different shit. I hope I'm not jumping around too many different spots, but like it ultimately comes down to, that's a very like, it's just a personal question. Like, what are you wanting out of it all? Because what is success to you, right? Like that's the $1 million question. Yeah. Like we always ask like, what success is. At one point in time for me, success was winning a conference title with my boys and fucking bench squatting 500 pounds. Like my goals were very like prophecy type of fucking like ambitious shit that have to do only with football and nobody else, nothing else going on. Like I want to be the best football player. And yeah, I look back now and it's like, man, I was so ego driven back then, and there's still ego I carry on all the time. Right.
I think, if I can, like,
please do. Save me.
I think everything you're saying is part of that Lego piece that's making Will Compton who he is. It's like, it wasn't that you were just ego driven at that time. You were exactly who you needed to be at that time. You needed to feed that side of yourself to create this complete person who you're becoming. Right. It's like, one thing, like for me, I do believe in like the zodiac and shit like that. I'm a Gemini, so like I'm very like, it's hard for me to focus on one thing sometimes. But I do believe like if you really want to be successful, you have to focus on one thing at a time. You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Lee used to like, one thing they said he used to do to train like his focus is he would watch like water just drip from a faucet and try not to think about anything else but that water dripping from a faucet for like an hour. Could you imagine doing that? Like training your focus like that helps you in so many other ways. And as we go through the ups and downs in life, you may be in a space where you identify success as winning a conference championship with your buddies.
Correct.
Or squatting that. And it's not that you were a bad person in that time or you were selfish or egoic. It's just in that moment in time, you were crafting that side that makes the whole image of who you are. The whole, it's like one Lego piece. It's like Jenga. You know what I mean? It's like that one piece, you just slid that in. And then the next phase, now you're working on your family. That's the next, the way you identify with success. And then once you kind of get that, slide in. It's always a continuing work. You're always going to be doing, construction on those areas that you've built. But, every piece is for specific times. So like, I would never identify or look at different spaces in life where I was as if I was overconsumed of anything. It's like, no, I was exactly where I needed to be in that time because I was crafting who I am. If you weren't who you were at that time, overconsumed in like the football shit, you probably wouldn't even be here right now.
No, I agree. I do agree with that wholeheartedly because even in terms of like program development with like working out and shit like that, it's like we can talk about what would be best for our bodies now, but back then the programs we were doing, whatever thoughts and methodologies are out there about them, were needed because of the cultural stuff that's going on around the program as well. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like you're just we were in such a phase of like learning about our own culture and how to create like leadership, teammate. Like we talk about stuff now, like, man, these schools get this off the kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm fucking jumping everywhere now. But I agree with you that I needed all that stuff back then. I feel like it helped kind of create, it has helped create who I am now. And I think like all those disciplines, like if you're sitting here watching or listening, wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, rate 5 stars. It's however you take this in, the thought isn't compare where you're at to where you need to be, to where you should be, to where you have been, to where somebody else is, or so-and-so is right, or this, that, the other. It doesn't matter. What matters is like, if you want to make a choice to change where you're at now, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you can sit there and be like, yeah, that is who I was. And literally from this moment, walking out a door, if we wanted to change something else about ourselves, we can become that person by building habits toward whatever we're thinking. So all to go back to your question of like, what was it? How do you separate or separating? Do you think you can?
Do you think it's necessary to separate what makes money for you from what makes you happy on like a general, level? Because like you said, we're kind of anomalies in a sense, right? People who did do or are doing the things that they loved ever since they were kids, playing football, and it also makes money for them. But that we're not the majority,
right?
In that aspect, so. Do you think it's healthy for people to kind of get in the mindset of like, let me separate what's making money for me from what actually makes me happy?
Right. And I think that's such a one-on-one question for yourself, because at the end of the day, like when we say nobody cares, work harder, nobody sleep on your pillow at night, like no one's going to save you. Like another one, like when you realize it's a one player game, like I got that one from Mike Stud. Shout out Mike Stud. When you realize it's a one player game, like, it's what you want out of life, man. Like it's hard for us to answer that for people, but we give our perspectives, but it's like you do it with a grain of salt because, we're kind of in the spot we're in now. We interrupt this episode to shout out the boys over at Sport Clips. Shout out Sport Clips, no free shout outs. You know what I found out, boys? What? There are 2 types of towels used in haircuts. One that smells like a bar top at 2 a.m. used to wipe you down like a child with a messy diaper. The other makes you feel like a king leaving a Swedish sauna. And let me tell you, boys, for you out there wondering what a Swedish sauna is, just go to one, get in your life. You'll thank me later. The Sports Clips MVP experience includes a hot steam towel infused with tea tree oils and a massaging shampoo technique that you never knew existed. It's relaxing. You'll feel good. You'll look good. You'll play good. Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair. Visit sportclips.com today to find a Sport Clips in your neighborhood. JP, what do you think? Jack, JP, I feel like is doing the shit. This is how you make money. Is it what you love?
Yeah, I mean, it is what I love, but I do think it's so much easier for our generation than it was like our parents' generation. They didn't have as much of an opportunity from an entrepreneur side. There wasn't as much money going around. So my dad, he's doing a job that he doesn't love, but it came down to the point where like, hey, do I want to support my family or do I want to chase my dream, in which I wouldn't be able to give my family the life I think they deserve? And so I think now, like, we sort of do a disservice if we don't chase our passions and dreams, because the people before us, depending on your situation, created the opportunity for us to chase our passion because they couldn't. So that's kind of where
That's a good point.
That is a good point. I fuck with that.
So, given that example, they sacrificed maybe what they wanted to do for the later. What are we sacrificing? Like, what's one thing that we can pinpoint that's like, okay, we're sacrificing
that
this.
kind of defines our generation.
That defines that's going to set up the next generation. Can you identify with anything that you feel like, yeah, this is a sacrifice that if I had it my way, it would be different, but I'm doing it for the greater good? What is that? What is that sacrifice?
Our own personal sacrifice for the
because we're all like millennials in here. Like, what are we sacrificing?
I think there's more blueprints and outlets that allow to like tap in. I mean, there's so many resources now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about how many resources you have. It's about how resourceful you can be with what you do have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we've all had to go through sacrifice and certain muddy waters to get to where we are. It's not like you don't want to create a life to where nobody's not having to go through sacrifice. But I think one thing we're doing is taking the stuff we've learned and continuing to create more access to people. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it makes sense to me.
It's like, back in the day, it was just books, right? And then the internet comes. Now there were a few podcasts. Now there's many podcasts. Like, there's so many avenues of like, it's sitting with yourself. It's sitting with yourself. Like, the conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you can have, because that's how you figure out like, the wiser decisions, the decisions that you ultimately want. And the resources are out there. So, but it's a fucking deep question. Like, what are we giving?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Me neither. I
feel like for me, it's just like all the experiences I've had and the consciousness I've been able to have, like within learning the things from what I sponged in high school, from what I got to sponge in college, from what I got to sponge around all my friendships, from what I got to sponge from my mentors, from the pros, from how my mind started to shift and balancing both football and life outside of football, and taking all of that and now being able to do it in a unique way through microphones and, giving it to people, giving access to people to what before there wasn't a lot of access to like athletes like we have now. Mm-hmm. If I can be some kind of avenue, one of the few avenues that allow that and people get something out of it, I feel like that's, service in itself.
I'll say this, going back to what you said with the generation before, so was that Generation X, or whatever that was, or whatever, them kind of maybe sacrificing, not doing what they love to provide for their families. I would say something I guess we inherited from the residual opportunity to go to college or whatever we inherited from that generation. I say what we are passing down is the power of choice, because we do have a generation of people, of entrepreneurs, millennials, people who don't have to necessarily sacrifice for the family to provide, and to also love what they do. Let me say that over. You don't have to sacrifice what you love to do to provide for your family. A lot of people are actually doing what they love and, also providing for their family. And I think what that creates for the next generation was a Generation Z or Y or T, where the fuck they're on by now. Generation Z is, I do see a lot of kids who are leading like a lot of campaigns and choice to evoke change. And, things that are really, really important. So I think I guess what we're passing down is the power of choice, saying like, this system doesn't have to always be like this if you don't want it to be. Just like you said, when you leave.
That's,
you know,
I
like
that.
just like you said, when we leave here, we can choose to be a completely different person if we want to. And I think that mindset was not as universally understood just 33 years ago.
Right.
You know?
That is why you get some pushback sometimes from the older generation.
Yes.
It's like, oh, y'all don't get it. Y'all don't get the sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
Where the sacrifice is just a little different now.
Yeah, it's a little different.
That was well said, though.
Yeah.
I before we get off here, because this has been a long fucking pod.
Yeah.
Been a banger, by the way. Subscribe, rate 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. I disagree with you can only focus on one thing at a time.
Who, me?
Yeah, I disagree with you saying that.
I can't focus on one thing. What I was saying is like to get the full, which you can.
And this is just between me and you. This is just I'm just saying this from me to you. I'm not saying like
Are you saying
somebody wants something.
I can't focus on one thing at a time? Or are you saying just generally?
I feel like some of to me when I think about this is my own personal. Somebody might be different. Some people might need to operate on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But don't worry about a plan B because it deteriorates from plan A. And I'm not as much of a believer in that as I used to be. Just because I feel like the way my journey's been in the recent years is I was focusing on a plan B. You got Creative House. You juggle both ball. You juggle being a professional 1% of the 1%. And also you're building a brand, like you're being an entrepreneur. Yeah. So like it's ultimately comes down to prioritizing and how you spend, I guess, your days. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that.
Some people listening do need to focus on one thing.
I do agree with that. And I like how you put that where you're saying you can focus on plan B because you hear that all the time, especially when it comes to athletes.
Correct.
Where they're saying like, focus on school first, you know, all that stuff. Like football should be your plan B. They always say that, but I'm just like, no, like the student
or your coach until you get in the team meeting and it's, hey, student athletes, you are.
Yeah.
You are student athletes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. For real. You know? But no, I definitely agree. I agree that because I do a multitude of things myself and I enjoy it because fundamentally I'm the same person in all of those things. They all are different strokes of my paintbrush, but they're all coming from the same fundamental idea of I like to teach people. I think I'm a teacher in life, and no matter if I'm playing football or shooting someone or writing a script, I'm thinking about teaching. And I think it comes down to when you ask that great question, that $1 million question, how do you define success? What is your common denominator that you see in everything that you do in life? You know, when you're a father, what do you see? When you're doing Bussin' With The Boys, what do you see? When you're a husband, what do you see? When you play football, what do you see? What do all those things have in common? What's the common denominator? And that's success. I'm the same person. Integrity.
And that's your that's like your unique ability as a person. Like when you can operate in your whatever unique ability is, like I feel like you get a lot of freedom out of that.
For real. It's facts.
Hey, that was solid, bro.
Solid, man.
Was there anything else?
Nah, I'm good. I mean, unless there's something.
Oh, you were supposed to play. You were gonna also disagree with doing two things at once. What were you gonna say?
I think you just answered that, right?
Yeah. I was just
do it as long as you have that common.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What I was saying earlier is a lot of times to be like fully successful in the sense of how I see success of just like Kobe Bryant type of like mentality of focus.
Yeah.
You gotta focus on one thing at a time. That means like the actual actions. Now that's not like your whole big scheme of things. Cause even Kobe was getting Oscars and shit. He was doing other shit. But when it came to basketball and he's practicing, he's focusing on one thing that day. That's what I've been doing. I go in one day and I'm like, I'm focusing on finishing my runs. That's it. I'm not focusing on, I gotta do this, gotta do that. All these multitude of things. It's like today is about finishing runs. Tomorrow
I like that.
Is about blocking. You know what I mean? The next day is about if I want to take my game to the next level, I'm trying to catch everything one-handed in practice today. Just focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you sharpen your skills. Bruce Lee said this too. I keep, taking from Bruce Lee. He didn't fear the man that could do 1,000 kicks. He feared the guy who can do one kick, who did one kick 1,000 times. Because that one kick is going to knock your ass out.
Yeah.
But if you do a whole bunch of kicks, you never really mastered any of those kicks. You just did a bunch of kicks. But you got one straight
Yeah.
kick to the chest that you done 1,000 times. That's all you need. That's all you need. So
No, that's
I
well
think
said.
that's how you really like become successful. It's like focus on that one thing every day. Definitely start, tap into that, bro.
Yeah.
For real.
No, I'm going to. You spoke some wisdom on today's pod.
Hey man. That's what I came here for.
I'm very thankful for it.
I'm thankful, bro. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that I can join this aura. I think you guys got a beautiful thing going, man. I would love to definitely, hey, man, black and white. It could still be a thing. It could still be a thing, man. But nah, I'm mad Taylor wasn't here, man. I had a couple questions for him, bro. But it is what it is. I'll catch him. Maybe I'll come back another day. When my show drops, and it's an entire different space.
Yeah, I tell you what, whenever you got things like dropping and stuff like that's, you got to go on the PR.
I got
runs.
to.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean? Like, come back.
Like, you might not understand that, but you got to go on PR runs.
What does that mean?
It means you gotta start saturating your stuff on a lot of different shows.
Bro,
you gotta go on like a tour.
That's what I gotta get better at, because I am naturally like, I can talk to people, but I'm naturally kind of introverted, and that's probably why you don't drop shit in the group chat. I'm like, I'm kind of introverted, where I keep things close to the chest.
Yeah,
and that's something I need to break out of more. But I see you guys do a really good job, like saturating in a good way. You guys just content. You know what I mean? So,
well, we appreciate that. That's
for
shout
sure,
out to all the boys back there.
for sure. You got some apparel I can take with me? I can take one of these pillows. In the box? Yeah.
I'll send you a box.
Okay, cool.
We know how I am with mailing stuff.
I gotta get to a flight, so
Yeah, what time's your flight?
5:46. So let me get up out of here. 3:32.
Yeah, you gotta roll.
Yeah, I got.
I appreciate
TNT
you coming
pretty
on, brother.
good. Yeah, for
Hey,
sure,
I love
man.
you.
Love you too, bro.
Hopefully Nebraska fans will love
Boys,
this.
I know that. Nah, they're gonna love this shit. They're gonna love it.